All right, good afternoon. It's your Sunday afternoon here, 2 days before Halloween, and this is 88.6 WGAT. I am Gregory Joseph, and welcome to the show. We have something special for you today, and it just so happens, with it being 2 days before Halloween, we brought on someone that I know that you're going to love. This guy is like the beast from the East. He's one of the biggest Halloween movie collectors on the East Coast, and his name is Pat, and he was gracious enough to spend some time with us today. So without any further ado, I'd like to bring him on. So his name is Pat. It's Pat Ring, the Halloween, aka the Halloween movie collector. So let's bring him on. There he is. Good afternoon, sir. How are
Hey,
you?
hey, what's up, Greg? Thanks for having me on.
Not a problem, man. Happy almost Halloween to you. So
Almost holiest of high holy days, yes.
yeah, it's good stuff. So all right. So why don't we start by like letting everybody know pretty much, you know, we'll bring you over back over here. There we go. Who you are, where you're from, and how you got into it. Because I know, I mean, I've seen this stuff previous. Like, I mean, someone says, "Oh yeah, I have some Halloween mess, and I have Michael Myers stuff." So like, please wait until you meet this guy. And so I couldn't wait to show you off a little bit there. So why don't you start out with telling us a little bit about yourself and who you are and where you're from?
Cool. Yeah, so name is Pat Rang. I'm from actually grew up in northern New Jersey, and Greg and I were chatting last night, and we know a lot of the same haunts, which is actually really, really cool. I still work in New Jersey. I live right on the Pennsylvania New Jersey border in Pennsylvania. And so yeah, I'm the creepy guy out in the woods out here with all this shit. So, but my story is growing up in northern New Jersey. The weirdest thing is, we figured it's 1980. So let's set the scene. 1980. It's Halloween night, and trick or treating with my friends from. I'm sure you'll recognize this town. My friends and my cousins were in from Lodi, New Jersey. So shout out to
Right.
Lodi people. And back then, not a lot of people had cable. So we were like one of the first ones to have cable. So we did our trick or treating. We're coming home to watch. I even brought this out. This is the original cable guide that I had for when Halloween was on. So we were coming home to watch The Warriors. It was The Warriors, which was premiering at 9 o'clock. So
Oh yeah.
10:30, we see a bumper for this movie, Babysitter Stalked by a Killer. It's called Halloween. So we're like, all right, we didn't even know anything about it because we didn't watch a lot of TV back then. We were always outside. Back in those days, my dad would come home like, get the hell away from the TV, get out, be
Yeah, no,
outside.
nobody stayed inside back then. It was all like,
Nope.
and then when the street lights went on, that meant you got to get your ass home. So,
Come home for dinner. The streetlights are on. Get your ass
yeah.
home. So get out. So we didn't see a lot of commercials or whatever. And we're like, yeah, it's Halloween night. Let's watch it. We watched this movie and it scared the crap out of us. I mean, granted, it's very of its time. It's a little tame compared to some of the shit you see these days.
Yeah, it
But it
still
made such an
does.
impression on me. So that's 43 years ago that I've been a fan.
Wow.
And just little by little, picked up stuff over the years. And, there's a lot of stuff here. People are like, wow, you have a lot of stuff. I love the stuff related to the films, like promotional stuff, which I got some cool stuff I'll show. But a lot of the
Yeah.
collectibles you see are within the last 10, 15 years because Halloween has exploded. It's like I call it the Star Wars of horror because not only is there tons and tons of collectibles out there now, there's like so many different timelines now, and they're coming out with a TV show eventually.
Oh,
And
but this is really, I didn't even know that TV show.
they just announced it. Miramax got the rights to do a Halloween television show, believe it or
Oh,
not.
wow. Okay.
So it's just a little bit. It's the world of Halloween is crazy. It's in the past year has been a whirlwind because it's the 45th anniversary of Halloween just passed a week ago, and they had a convention in Pasadena. They do it every 5 years where they gather is whatever living people from the films they can get to come out there, and they have a 2-day convention where you go there, you can meet the actors and actresses, get autographs. They have like different panels and
Oh,
all
they
sorts
still
of
they
crazy
still
stuff.
do that, huh? That's and what was it? October 25th of 78? Wasn't that the date or no?
Yes, that was the actual. Yep, that was the
All
release
right.
date. Or on
Okay.
that geek, it's actually October 24th because it premiered the night before in Kansas City, Missouri.
Right, that was the first. Right, they had limited showing.
Yep.
Yablands or whatever. He mentioned that in an interview. I remember that. There's only a couple places in the Midwest or whatever. Yeah.
And on that Halloween night, I just fell in love with the film. I've seen every other film in the theater when it came out, and just just collected whatever I could. There wasn't not much to do in the 80s and the 90s, because there really wasn't a lot. There was only thing you can get was like physical media, like Laserdisc, VHS, Beta. You remember
Laser
Beta?
disc.
Yeah, I love
60
Laserdisc.
the disc cost more than the thing, and if you got like two of them, you were rich. Like if you
Yeah.
had two of
Oh,
them laying around, they were like $80 each or something.
and you could just get
Laser
stuff like that. It wasn't too much, but the last 10, 15 years, actually really the late 90s, if you remember the store Spencer's that's out there. Spencer's
Yeah,
put a bunch of shit out in the late 90s, and that's what pretty much
sure.
started a little bit of it. But the last few years is just, especially now with social media and online presence, there's so many stores that put out stuff on a daily, constantly. And I'm like, stop. I don't have any room and money left. Stop.
Yeah, and it's weird
Give me a
because
break.
it's cool that a lot of things did not stand the test of time as far as when social media took over, and that's kind of what it is. I mean, especially now, even before the AI explosion, which we're in the midst of right now, certain things didn't make it, but certain things did. And my view, and a lot of our listeners and viewers, they know that I'm old school, such as you. That's why we get along so well. Because
Mhm.
to me, it was, if something is a classic and it's the way that, even when it's little imperfections, that's those little things are what makes it great. And leave it
Yeah.
alone. Stop paying tribute to it. You want to pay tribute to something, watch it, tell people about it,
Celebrate it.
exemplify it, but don't change it, or, oh, we're going to update it, we're going to reboot it, we're going to, no, stop it, leave it alone. Leave If they redid Halloween, could have been worse. I mean, I guess Rob Zombie did a good job with it. To me, I like the original one. It reminds me of when I was little. It reminds me of a different time. It was perfect for that point in time. But what I'm saying is, in my opinion, I'm sure you feel this way, and a lot of people do. It's still, it resonates today, and yeah, it's not gory. You don't even see the shape, which is really what he's called in the first one, the shape. That's
Right.
how the credits list him, right? And it's just, some things didn't make it this far, 40 something years. How many times or how many things can you say, oh yeah, this is that? Not a lot of things, especially in the horror movie genre, but this is like beyond a cult following. You got people from ages of 18 all the way to 65 that still watch Halloween. That, name one other thing. I can't think of anything that is that prevalent. I mean, honestly, and
Yeah.
that's so
And
great because I love it just like you do.
it's crazy. If you would have told 8-year-old me back in 1980 that 51-year-old me would be doing this right now, where I'm
Yeah.
talking about celebrating this film that I fell in love with, this franchise, I'd be like, "What are you crazy? No, I won't. I'll be some old man just not doing anything like that." But
Uh,
no, here it is. It's up in a basement full of Halloween memorabilia, which goes all around here. Unfortunately, I have a wife that tolerates it and kids that tolerate it, and it's
Well, yeah,
just
that's
been it's
another thing
crazy.
that stood the test of time too. If you have a wife that's that cool, she's that cool, and your family that can go, you know, they're just saying, oh, okay, be very pragmatic about it, or whatever. Okay, Dad's doing his Halloween thing, and they're okay with that. You know what I mean? That's cool, whether they like it or not. They love you, and they're like, you know what? All right, that's pretty damn cool that Dad does. I mean, you gotta. Not everyone has that, so good for you, man. You're a lucky guy. So,
Yeah, wife will break my chops. She,
yeah.
here and there when she sees me buy more stuff for the collection, she's like, "What did you get now?" So yeah, there's always
Hmm.
that. But she's cool. I got the whole thing down here, and they just leave me down here, just like I'm Grandpa from the Munsters in my dungeon, and then I'm just down here in my dungeon, hanging out, messing
Yeah,
around with
yeah.
shit.
Speaking of what you have there, I mean, just what we can see just on the shot that we have here. Let me make it a little larger.
Well, I
Let's
can.
try this.
Let's see.
There we
So
go.
what we can do is we can
Look at that.
go.
One, two, three,
Whoop,
four. I
wrong one.
count at least. What is that? You have at least a dozen, if not more. Just Michael Myers mask. You have the full. I mean, if you want to tell some of the people that maybe they can't see it as well, if you tell them what you have there, I mean, wow,
Some
that
more
is the
here.
Halloween room. Oof,
So we
look
can
at that.
go down. There's some more stuff over here. We can go in on some of the masks.
And
Those
now
are all my
these are
CDs.
all.
Play guitar. Been a music fan forever. That's why you'll see on this thumbnail why I put a kiss on Michael Myers' shirt
Yeah,
because
I
I'm a
like.
big Kiss fan.
Oh yeah, that's. I'm sure a lot of people will appreciate that. Look at, so now these are all different. These aren't the same masks over and over again. For those that maybe that aren't as
Right.
familiar with the
Different
franchise,
films,
right?
and they actually have some for different scenes in each film too.
Yeah, I heard about that. You might want to be able to maybe touch on that. Now, I know that you've probably gone over some or all or most of this stuff that you're telling us today in your actual podcast that you do, and we'll get to that in a little while. But for those that missed it and that have no idea who you are, but now they are finding you, can you tell them a little bit about like because you probably spoke about a lot of this stuff. Like you said, there's different scenes in the same movie. Maybe they don't know that. Maybe off the top of your head, you could tell them or.
Well, they get as particular as can be because you have it's the way the mask is lit in certain scenes. It looks different. So they have like say for instance, let me see. I can zoom in on
I like the
this
full
one
length one.
right
Is that
here.
cardboard that Michael Myers behind you that big one? That's cardboard, right?
Yeah, it's a cardboard stand-up. So you have the Bloody Tears one, which is from part 2, because you remember Michael
Right.
Myers gets his eyes shot out at the end.
Right.
The one up there is just the basic original mask. This one right here is what they call the Elrod scene, the scene in Halloween 2 where
Oh yeah,
he
Mrs.
steals the
Elrod.
knife from the older people's house.
Yeah, that was a creepy part that I did not see the first time I saw Halloween 2. I didn't notice that. You're looking at your viewpoint is of the guy falling asleep, and then later on you see him standing. That's creepy as fuck when you see him and then he just exits real quick. I didn't see that the first time I saw the film, but the first time I did see it, I was like, "Oh shit, it creeped me out." You know?
That's what I love about it. This stuff, as a kid especially, we would always look like, okay, what could we see next? What could we see next?
Yeah.
Because you never knew what you were going to see. So if you go pan this way,
Very
it actually goes.
simply too. Like that to me was creepy when, and it's a continuation, which I thought was brilliant. We all know that John Carpenter wasn't crazy about making the second one, and there's reports that he was like drunk as hell when he was writing it or whatever. And part two.
Yep,
But
a lot of Budweiser, he said.
right, and the fact that he. Just him and Deborah Hill and everything. I mean, I know most of the story, not as much as you do, but I just thought it was great that they did their absolute best. They really tried hard to make it a continuation of the first one, which is the way it couldn't go any other way. I mean, they really tried hard, except for maybe the bad wig on Jamie Lee Curtis. That was that was the best that they could do. Come on, man. It was awful. That wig. It wasn't even close. But everyone else was pretty good, except wasn't there something with Loomis's coat? Like it was the wrong coat. Like the lapel was wrong.
The lapel is wrong. Yeah, because
it was.
That's why I always compare Halloween to like the Star Wars of horror because we're just like they say Star Wars geeks. No, we're Halloween geeks. Yeah, the lapel's off, and if you remember. In the beginning of Halloween 2, there's two big mistakes besides the lapel. One, if you count the times Loomis shoots him, he shoots him 7 times. And his revolver doesn't have 7 bullets. It can only hold 6.
And the big thing is, I shot him 6 times.
Yeah, no, you shot him 7 times the second time around, Donald Pleasance. But then after that, if you notice when in the original movie, he falls off a balcony off the back of the house. In the part 2, he's falling out the front of the house.
Yeah, I thought that was me. I'm like, wait a minute. He came up the staircase, and that was through the room that he shot him. Why would the room be in the front? Yeah, at first I didn't catch that, but then later on, I did. And yeah, in part 2, when you see, by the way, it looks like he's even with the railing, like.
Yeah, he's like walking on a board, which is weird. What really fascinates me is go look at pictures of that house in South Pasadena, and one of the things we did. When I was in California for the H45 convention, they had the Friday they had what they called Horror's Hallowed Ground bus tour. So if you paid this amount of money, you could go and this guy Sean Clark, which anybody watching this that knows horror or anything to do with conventions, they know who Sean Clark is. He's the guy that organizes everything, and he does a show called Horror's Hallowed Grounds, and he put together a bus tour where he took you to all the shooting locations of Halloween 2, and there was a couple of other ones that we saw along the way too, like the Church from the Fog, scenes from Silent Night, Deadly Night, Nightmare on Elm Street,
Silent Night, Deadly Night. Oh yeah,
I was Shocker, Christine, the Rob Zombie.
Was a good one.
Yeah, so he took us to a bunch of places. It was amazing, including what's that?
I'm sorry, I was going to say here's your.
Oh yeah.
So this is actually for those that I know the people listening can't see this, but obviously, but the people that are watching, you were actually in Pasadena not too long ago, and there's the Myers house, right? I mean, everyone could see it. That's you taking this film, right? I mean,
That is me filming it. I tried to film it the way the intro of the original film was, and it was the first time I was out there. I was like a kid in the candy store. It was like going to the Holy Grail because for years, people are like, "Wow, you've never made it out there?" I go, "Well, I have wife, kids. To just jump up and go to California, I couldn't do it. But now my kids are a little bit older, and when they announced this, I told the wife, I said, "We're going." I said,
sorry, we'll get to Kiss later. Sorry about that.
"Oh yeah, we can talk about Kiss all night long," and we talked a lot about it last night.
Yeah,
Greg
no,
and I.
we'll have you back on for that definitely. I wanted the people to see that you were you were actually there. I mean, that's pretty cool. Sorry, I had to interject in there, but I see all the different masks in there. Now I remember what's your favorite. Now, this is difficult. That's like someone saying, "What's your favorite movie?" It's so bland. Like, what's your for me? Anyways, I'll just say for me first. Obviously, the first Halloween is the classic. That's my favorite one. Second one would actually be my second favorite one.
Yep,
You know what I
I'm
mean?
right
And
there.
then I jumped to four, obviously, because Michael Myers wasn't in three. But as time went on, we all made fun of three and thought it sucked and this, that. Now that I see it, it was ahead of its time. I mean, I know the graphics and the computer. I kind of, even though it didn't have the element of Laurie Strode and everything, it kind of grew on me. And it's like, wow, it actually is. I like Tom Atkins. And I thought now, but I didn't think then. I thought it was pretty cool. But definitely the first one. Yeah, I mean, you
Mhm.
can't beat that. I remember being a little kid and watching the commercial, which I should have played, but maybe I'll play it later on. The original one where she's at the door, and I remember being scared. And he's walking across the street.
Yep.
Michael Myers is walking towards her, and she's like, "Tommy, let me in." I mean, I was like 8 years old. I was creeped the fuck out. I didn't think I slept for like a week.
Yeah,
Um,
people don't realize it. Like when I first showed it to my kids, it's funny because I would talk about it, and when they were of the right age to show them, because they would always see this stuff down here and wonder, Dad's out of his mind. What is all this stuff? And when the wife agreed to, all right, you can start showing them horror movies, and of course they both. My son, he likes horror movies, but my son's he's very educated and very smart, so he's a realist. Where he's just like, well, people don't do this, and they don't. I go, you have to suspend disbelief because if people made the correct decisions in a horror movie, there'd be no horror movie. They're supposed to make dumb decisions. I said, so stop questioning it and just enjoy it. My daughter loves
yeah, how
horror,
come she
and she'll
fell?
watch it.
They always fall.
Yeah, of course they fall. They drop the knife. They go in the room they shouldn't go in. They never turn lights on. I go, but if they made the right decisions, what movie would you have? They're supposed to be stupid and make dumb decisions. That's what
They
happens.
never
Then
turn
you have the
lights.
final person at the end that makes the right decisions, and that's the final girl. That's the way it works. That's the formula. Wash, rinse, repeat. But I finally showed them the movie. I was all excited. I'm like, what'd you think, huh? They were like, it's all right. It's okay.
That's
Because they're so
that's funny.
desensitized to movies because it was so of its time. And it's not a
Uh-huh.
bloody movie. It's not a gory movie. There's no
No.
cursing in it. I mean, yeah, you get a little boobage from PJ Souls, but other than that, it's
Who doesn't
very
like
tame.
that? Even at 8 years old, that was,
Big fan. Big fan.
she
Uh,
was in she was in Christine prior to that. I knew who PJ stood. She was like actually one of the bigger names, other
oh, she was
than.
in Carrie. She was in Carrie. She was good in
Oh,
Carrie.
I'm sorry. What did I say, Christine? Yeah, Carrie. You're right.
Yeah,
I'm
she's
sorry. Yeah,
Carrie.
right. Yeah,
She's in
her.
Trading Places.
Yeah, she was. Yeah, Travolta was in Christine. In Carrie. That's what I
In
was thinking of
Carrie.
her
Yeah,
with.
that's right.
All right, the girl that was in Dress to Kill. I can't remember her name.
Oh, Nancy Allen
Right, for Blowout and all those other things.
and
So she was in
Blowout.
like.
Yeah. Poltergeist 3, which was kind of a stinker, but yeah.
Yeah, no, that one was like, except for the old guy going, "You're all gonna die." No, that was the
Yeah,
second one.
that's
No,
the
the
old
third
man.
one was Tom Skerritt and all that. Yeah, okay,
Tom Skerritt. Right.
where they were in the
So,
hotel or whatever, and that one sucked. But the other Poltergeist was still on. Not to get too far off rail, but I gotta say, from the ages of 11 to probably 19, I didn't have any underneath my bed. My bed was on the floor. I didn't care how big and bad I thought I was. After I saw the clown and Poltergeist, I was like, "Fuck you! I'm never gonna have anything that go underneath the bed and get me." Hell no. Hell, ever since that movie, nope. My bed was on there. Maybe I might have been 20. There was no
what
underneath my bed, man.
when I was younger, I always had a fear of the blankets had to cover me completely. Like if I had a foot sticking out, I would always be scared that something was going to come and grab my foot. And for the longest time as a kid, I my wife, it's funny when she sleeps, she always sleeps with one foot out every night out of the blanket. And I always told her, I said, I could never do that. As a kid, I was always afraid if I wasn't under. yeah, of course something can grab you no matter what.
Gonna drive you
But
crazy.
felt
Yeah.
exposed with that foot sticking out. It was like I was naked. I'm like, no, gotta get covered. I'd wake up in the middle of the night like, yeah, weird.
Oh
Yeah,
my god, you put that toe away.
obviously
You know where
kind of
that
weird.
toe has been. Yeah, that's too fun. Well, so you have all that's now you have, and that's movies and music. Like I'm on the shelf behind you there, behind the on the back
Yeah,
wall
those
there,
are mostly CDs rather, because
CDs. Okay.
I'm a guitar player. I played guitar for 40 some odd years, playing a cover band on the weekends. Actually, we just played a Halloween party this past Friday, and a big music fan. And we touched on Kiss because a lot of people sometimes go to my channel and they see that I have the Kiss logo on Michael Myers of his jumpsuit, like he's wearing a Kiss shirt. And I go, I'm a big Kiss fan. Like growing up as a kid, it was Kiss, and it was Kiss before Halloween since 1975. That
Right.
was my brother came home with Kiss Alive, and that changed everything. And I was telling you last night, I had a room like this filled with Kiss memorabilia. One day, if you want, I could show you all that on another show, but which I since
Oh, I
sold
bet.
off many years,
Yeah.
about 20 some odd years ago. I had the Bally pinball machine, every collector you can probably imagine that came out in the
I
70s.
remember that pinball machine. That was great. That and the Playboy one. I remember those two stuck out in my mind. But
Yeah.
yeah, those were the days. That's and so this isn't just a little. This is cumulatively. You didn't just go all in like for like a period of 5 or 6 years and buy a bunch of Halloween shit. This is
No,
in real time since the early, so it's 1980 or whatever. You right a little
yeah,
bit each year and
right. And the majority of the collectible aspect, like a lot, like it's probably doubled in size in the last 5 years, simply because, like I said, when they came out with the movie in 2018, Halloween, and it was
yeah.
the high. It's to this day, it's the highest grossing slasher film in history. Halloween
Is that true?
Yeah, it's grossed $253 million, I think.
Is that because they thought that that was going to be the final one? Is that why that happened, or is it because we finally got Jamie Lee Curtis again, or is it both?
Well, they had Jamie Lee for back in H2O,
Yeah,
and
but
then
that
they
was
killed
like
her off in Resurrection,
which nobody
which
liked
is
that.
dog
They
shit.
made her. Yeah,
So
she falls and she had him trapped. Yeah, they brought her
yeah,
back and then yeah, I didn't like that kind of because she's like our hero. You know what I mean? You got to have a protagonist, you have to have an antagonist, and if one of those are missing, like in part three, it kind of dilutes it a little bit, in my opinion.
well, the original
Um,
ending of 2018, the film 2018, Myers is essentially dying at the end of it, and they flash. But the test audiences, I guess, didn't like the ending, so that's when they came up with the alternate ending where they trap him in the basement and trying to burn him alive. And then that gave the
right,
ambiguity
right.
of him. Okay, maybe he's dead, maybe he's not dead. Let's see how the film makes. If it does, if it makes money, we'll come back. And it blew through
Yeah,
the
and it did.
roof.
Oh yeah, yeah. He was. I remember seeing the commercial. Even though I told you yesterday I wasn't crazy about Halloween Kills. However, there's no Halloween. That's like saying that there's another Rocky movie. It might suck, but you know damn well I'm going to
You're
be
gonna
there day
go anyway.
one.
Yep.
Yeah, of course I have to. That's a Jersey thing. We have to. We have no choice. None. So I just remember going and see. Now I remember the commercial for it too. Um, for Halloween, and that's the one with the fireman, right? And they see him, and he comes out, and he's
That's
taking on all
Kills.
the
Yep. The middle one.
firemen.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, which I kind of liked that part of it because they didn't know what they were up against,
It
and
was a
it
good
kind of brought
sequence.
him.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Like they put some thought behind it, and even though what was it, David Green, what's his name that took it over now?
David Gordon Green. Yeah.
He's a comedian, isn't he? I mean, isn't
Well, he
that
did a comedies like the Pineapple Express and a few other
all
comedies.
right?
Yeah.
All right. I mean, and now supposedly there's what now they're selling the rights to it or something, or what's this? Can you tell
Well,
us
they
about that? Do you
shopped
know?
it. The rights went up because they had a 3 picture deal with Blumhouse Studios, and that's who hired David Gordon Green to
Okay.
co-write the movies and direct the movies. So they fulfilled 3 movies. They had 2018 film, they had Kills, and then they had Halloween Ends. So then
Right.
they would Malik Akkad, who's the executive producer who owns Trancas Pictures, who owns the license, who owns the films. His father
Right. The
owned it
son of
first.
right
Gustav.
of the original guy. Right. Right.
Right.
Hmm.
So he shopped it around, and Miramax, who I think co-owns it, they own a piece of it. They 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 won the TV rights, so they're supposed to be doing a TV series, probably along the lines of like you see how they have a Creepshow TV series, they have a Chucky TV series, they had an Exorcist TV
Yeah.
series. It's
It
probably going
goes
to
a
be
little
somewhere
bit
along the
too
lines of that.
crazy.
So let's
I
see
don't
where
know if
that
I would
goes.
agree with that. It wasn't the original thing that everybody did. It was the original one was like the Friday the 13th series, I think. Isn't that
And
the
the Friday,
first
yeah,
time?
they had that original one back in the day. Yeah, and actually, there's a new Friday the 13th one coming out too. What's it called? Crystal
I
Lake
mean,
Memories, I
I don't
think.
know if I'd be okay with the Halloween one. Like I said, I feel like it dilutes it. If you're watching that during the year and then a Halloween movie gets rebooted, comes out, doesn't it take away from it, or you don't feel that way?
It depends on how it's made. Like, I was, it's like that thing, like you said, a new Rocky movie comes out. No matter what, you're all over. You're gonna go watch it regardless, and then you'll
Right.
form your opinion. There's things about. I mean, I love all the movies, and I've talked about this where some people are like, "Oh, I hate this." I go, I never say hate because hate's a strong word.
Right.
There's things I like better
I
than
dislike it
other things.
greatly.
Yeah,
So,
like if I gave a ranking, I wouldn't say I hate it because if it's on, I'll sit through it and watch it. And it might be things I like in it, certain
right.
scenes or sequences that I like. So there's no movie in the Halloween franchise I hate. Some have disappointed me, like the last film.
Right.
Um, Halloween Ends. I don't know what they were thinking going in that direction. And the funny thing is, we do something on my channel called the Halloween Movie Book Club. So what we do is we we assign 10 chapters, we read the 10 chapters, then we go live and we talk about the chapters in the book, compare them to the film, and see how it pertains to the film. Like if there's a scene that's a little bit different, a little bit of extra dialogue, might explain things a little bit better. So if you go read the Halloween Ends novelization, which is the last film that just came out, the novelization 1,000 times better than the film.
Oh, yeah. Usually the book is much better. I remember the Amityville
Yeah,
Horror. The book scared the crap out of me. The movie was good, the original one. I'm talking about in '79, but the
right.
book much better. Christine, the book much better. Misery, and so on and so forth. And I never wrote or read the novel, I should say, for Halloween. But I mean, it's got to be a screenplay. It's got to be written before it's filmed. But when something's filmed, you're getting the director and the actors and everybody's point of view. With a book, the beauty of it is if a lot of people that don't read anymore, but I still do, like you do, and you
Audible.
can picture your own right, which is a good shout out since I do Amazon Audible, so a shameless plug right there.
Shameless
But
plug.
it's you get to have your own, like, this is what the character in my mind would look like, not the what the director came up with, and this is how I would say. So it's like you get your own. It's like your own. Like you own it now. As once the movie comes out, it's one way. I kind of like that. So I'm
I
not
Yeah.
surprised that the screenplay was better.
It
But that's
it is
interesting stuff. Yeah,
it's better in the fact that if did you see Halloween Ends? Did you see the last film in the trilogy?
I saw them all. Yeah,
Oh, that's right. You did talk about because you remember about the kid in the beginning falling and
we
dying.
saw
Well,
them all in the movies. Yep.
they gave that whole story, which what everybody calls the Corey story, and then Myers was basically a side character. Well, that's not how you would end a trilogy. But if you
No.
read the novelization, there's so much Michael Myers in the novelization that they could have used that they didn't use. Instead, they went with this other story. So that's the problem I have with it. That's why I'm looking forward to.
Yeah.
Right now, we've read on the channel. We've gone through Halloween, Halloween 2, Halloween 3, Halloween 4, and right now we're doing the 2018 novelization, and we have one episode left. Then we're gonna do kills, and then when we get to ends, I told everybody, I said, pay attention to ends because you're gonna see how much more Michael Myers is in that novelization that you just want to go say, well, why didn't you use all that? Why did you use this? That's okay in
Yeah.
the novel, but it didn't need to go on the screen.
Why did they interpret it the way that they did? I mean, I'm not saying they did. How did you feel about that guy Corey? Not a horrible actor. He did a good
No,
job
not at
as
all.
per what the character required.
Exactly.
But would you have thrown, like? Remember, we didn't have enough time to even get to know this guy, and then all of a sudden he's the main protagonist out of nowhere, it just was too much to. What's the word I'm looking for? Not digest. It was just too much to process, I guess, in one movie. Maybe I don't know. That's just
It
me.
just didn't. Yeah, not for a trilogy. I mean, it would have been. Honestly, I'll tell you, it's a mirror image of almost 40 years later. So my son's in college. So when Ends came out, I took my daughter. My wife didn't, because said she'll watch the movies, but she's like, I'm not in the mood. So I took my daughter, and we're sitting there, and it's about 45 minutes in, and she looks at me and goes, Dad. I go, what? She goes, where the heck's Michael Myers? And I go, it's a good
Even she
question.
knew.
Now, flash back to
Huh.
1982 in the lowest showboat cinema, if you northern New Jersey, you're in Edgewater. I'm there in the theater watching Halloween 3. About
Right.
45 minutes in, I'm like, where's Michael Myers? Am I in the right theater? It was almost a mirror image of 40 years later that they did this. So A lot of people have come around to it. The actor, I've met him at the convention. The guy that played Corey. Oh God, what's his name? I'll think of
Oh,
his
you
name.
did meet him. Okay.
But not, super nice guy, and he got a lot of love. He didn't get any hate. Nobody. I was actually invested in that story. Like if it was a different movie, where say it was this kid that was bullied, he had the unfortunate incident of the kid dying,
Right.
which was not his fault. It
No,
would
it
have been a good
wasn't.
movie, and he was possessed. You know?
Yeah, but him taking over as Michael Meyer. I mean, well, you got to remember also. I've always been under the assumption, or under the delusion, I should say, that a lot of these people, or like the younger crowd, I would say, just like people that are younger than us, the first time they saw Halloween was Halloween 2018. You know what I mean? So this is like their
Yeah.
Halloween one, our Halloween 1978 is them 2018. So they maybe aren't as tough on it, and they're giving a lot of love because this is still kind of new. I mean, that the first of the trilogy was only, what was that, 5 years ago or whatever. So it wasn't that long. So you're talking about three films within a 5 year span. Where back then you had one in '78, one in '81, one that had nothing to do with anything in '82, and then nothing until '88. So that
Hmm.
6 year span, it was a little long. If you want to build something up, you got to do like The Sopranos did. And you got to wait like 2.5 years, not 7 or 6.
Right.
It seemed like a long time, but believe it or not, I thought 4 was excellent. I still think that's one of the better
It's one of the
ones.
better sequels. It's fan, and the funny thing
Yeah.
is the podcast I do with my two co-hosts. The one co-host is much younger than me, my friend Joe, and that was his first movie, and that's like almost his. That's pretty much, he's pretty much said it's probably is his favorite, because I call it, like, when you come into a franchise, especially something as long as Halloween, or say you're a Friday fan because there's a ton of Fridays, or Hellraiser, or Nightmare on Elm
Right.
Street. When you come into it, I always refer to that movie as your gateway drug, because that's what drew you to the franchise. So 2018 is probably a gateway drug for many people that were introduced to the franchise in 2018. Just like there's a lot of people that were introduced in '88 with H4.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and it's, I was happily, pleasantly surprised that the one in '88 Part 4 was as good as it was. Then I remember they pumped out one in 1989, and it came out a little bit too quick. But I
Way too
guess it was
fast.
Dimension or whoever had control over it. They just did it a little bit, and they kind of just threw it together. There's a lot, we could get to that later. A lot that just did not make sense in a few of those. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And then the man in the hat, the black,
Man in
who
Black.
ended up being, yeah, I mean, come on, man, like, what the hell? And now all of a sudden there's a cult, and all of a sudden you don't have Danielle Harris in it, which was a big blow to that franchise, in my opinion. And from what I heard, she had to do a lot just to make herself available to be
Right.
in it, and she wasn't in it. I heard something about that, and that really sucked because we didn't even know who Jamie Lloyd. Like, remember that one? What was that, number 6? I had no idea
Part
who the
six,
hell
they had a
she
different
was.
actress do it. Yeah,
Yeah,
different
the girl
actress.
that was, not that she was a bad actress, but she's
No.
running around and she has a baby in her, and no one knew what the was going on. We had no idea that was supposed to be Danielle Harris's guy. Nobody knew. Nobody, and that was like, come on, man, we got enough to process. And now there's a cult, and there's a baby, and now Tommy Doyle's back, and who the hell is this Paul Rudd guy? You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
trying
right.
to
Who
tie
knew?
in. I mean, come on. And then we thought he died in 5, at the end of 5, Loomis, and now I'm glad that Donald Pleasance wasn't. Now he's still alive. There was just so many things. I was confused. I had a headache at the end of that one. I
Yeah,
was.
exactly. And
I,
there's
I
two versions of that movie too. You know that, right?
I heard that there's the director's cut, or there's one that nobody ever watches. Do I have that wrong? How does
Well,
that work?
they did release it eventually. It was pretty much pirated for years. It's the producer's cut, so it's the storyline is pretty much the same, but there's a lot of different things. Especially the ending is different, because what they did, they had to. You have to remember now. Donald Pleasance died in 1995, right at the tail end of
Yeah, I
filming
know.
that film. So they had to shoot around certain things, and they made some changes, and for better or
That
for
was
worse. But
sad.
it's if you blend the two together and you took parts from each, it would be a better film.
That was no, you're right. I wanted to show the people something else that was up on your. I'm gonna share the screen really quick because I thought it was kind of cool here. This is from your YouTube channel here. Yeah, see how cool that is. Yeah, I like that.
You're an angel to me.
See how cool? Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, we'll get back to that, Pat. I wanted to
Yeah.
show I wanted to show to people how that's a cool intro, man.
And that was something I came up with. The intro, yeah, I had so much fun with that. Thanks. It was just something I felt because a lot of places don't even have intros, but I'm like, let me do a nice little intro. Come inside. Of course, I'm the Halloween guy, so I had to use the scene where you get to see Ghost Bob from the from the original films. I had to use that, but that series that I have on the channel called What If. Those were a lot of fun. So you Halloween geeks out there like myself, basically what I do is I just take 10 things from each of the film and do a what if. Like, okay, what if Dr. Loomis didn't die, or what if this happened? How would it have changed things? So it's kind
Yeah,
of
that's
cool.
pretty. Yeah, well, there's a lot of what ifs too. I mean, that was I wanted to show people. There's so many different things that I want to be able to tell people. But we've got to take a
Mhm.
quick break here, a little pause for the cause, if you will. But just for those people that are watching, people listening, maybe you might be missing out on seeing some of this stuff, but you're gonna have to check out Pat's YouTube channel, which we have fleshed on there, which is that Halloween movie collector. You can find him on there. He's on Instagram as well. We have it flashing on the screen as well, which it's Instagram that.halloween.movie.collector, and then that's really really cool, and they'll be able to see it. So, like I said, if they are listening and not being able to, they're not able to watch right now, we'll let them know that your YouTube at that Halloween movie collector, one long word, that Halloween movie collector, and you can check out Pat's interviews and the different places that he's been, and the fact that I'm jealous. I wish I could go. I mean, I've saw the Myers house. I was out in Pasadena, but you went way beyond the realm of anything that I did, and it's pretty cool. But I want people to know more a little bit about the stuff you have there. And I know you have some like
Mhm.
ultimate Halloween, if not just horror community collectibles. People would love to get their hands on stuff like that. Which when we get back, I want to be able to tell people about that. So
Yeah, sure.
appreciate it. We have Pat, the movie collector, the beast from the east here, Mr. Halloween himself, as we are approaching Halloween 2023. And you're listening to the Meme Machine Radio Show. We're live in the great state of New Jersey. And like I said, 48 hours from now, we'll be trick or treated. We might even start a little bit earlier. Who knows? We'll see. We'll see what happens. But we'll be back with Pat right after this. Don't go anywhere. New Jersey 88.6 WGAT. Welcome to your Sunday afternoon. We have Pat, the Halloween movie collector, is with us today. And as promised, he's going through all his stuff. He has an extensive collection, and we wanted to bring it to you here for those that are listening and watching. We do appreciate it. And we wanted to continue on a little bit here. Well, we still have some time with Pat. And like I said earlier, he was gracious enough to be with us today and spend some of his time. All right, so Pat, for the people that probably are just tuning in now, for those that have been here, with all the stuff that you have in the background there, obviously it's very, see if we'll get another shot of that. It's very impressive. I mean, all the stuff that you have back there, and that's you probably have more stuff that we can't even see that are back there, but I know from when we spoke that you have stuff that, not just for Halloween, people that are like fans of the trilogy, fans of the entire franchise, but horror people in general, just regular movie collectors, 80s people. I mean, you name it. You've got some stuff that I know that you're going to want to show some people there. Do you mind showing us? I mean, this is like stuff that just about any collector, no matter what genre, would love to get their hands on, I'm sure. What do you got for us?
Well, I grab a few things because I do have a lot of things from a lot of the films. The majority of my collection is from the original first two films, and then scatterings of other stuff. My biggest passion is anything related to the films, whether they be promotional material, film reels, press kits, anything like that. Because to me, that's the stuff I started out collecting, because that's all you could find back in the day. Because back in the day, there was no Halloween collectibles. So that's the stuff I would collect when I could find it, which was hard to find before the days of eBay. Once eBay came along, forget it. All the gloves were off, and the bank account suffered because of it. But so you figure, one thing I did acquire, I mean, that's actually only probably within the last 6 or 7 years, believe it or not. I've been on the hunt for one for years. And this is only one part of it. So this is one canister of it. So this right here is one of 5 reels. It's an original 78 print of Halloween that would have been shown in the theaters.
That's the actual film reel inside.
There's one film reel. So if you open it up,
that's from 78.
78. So there's 5 canisters. This would be one full print of the film that would have been shown in theaters in 1978.
Wow. I don't even want to know who you had to kill to get that, but that's awesome.
Funny story is, it's actually shout out to a collector friend of mine who I became friends with through this. If you go, it's a 20th anniversary. So now we're going back to 98 when you still bought VHS tapes. There's a 20th anniversary 2 cassette tape edition celebrating the 20th anniversary, and in there there's a booklet with a bunch of memorabilia and stuff, and the guy credited on the back of it, James Chandler, friend of mine, the stuff he donated, this is one of the prints he had. And I actually bought 2 other prints from him from Halloween 2. So I actually own an original 16mm print of Halloween 2 in French from France, and a UK print of Halloween 2. They're back there as well.
So you have the actual original Halloween in French.
In Halloween 2. Yeah.
Halloween 2, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so the two 16mm prints are Halloween 2. Yeah. I haven't been able to get my hands on a Halloween 2 35mm print. I've seen a few out there. Some aren't in the best shape because the only thing about film, that's what's good about down here. It's always dark down here. I have all the shades closed because it doesn't fade anything. You have to keep the temperature at a certain level, because not only do I own this, I own several other film reels from the franchise, like this right here. This is an original 35mm trailer that you'd see in the theaters that would run before a film that would be advertising Halloween. And what happens if you don't store them in the right temperature, they crack. Then you get that what they call vinegar syndrome, when they start to smell. So you have to be careful when it comes to film reels.
What was that? They start to smell, you said?
They call it vinegar syndrome. They start to deteriorate and they start to smell like vinegar. They stink.
No shit. I didn't.
Yeah,
see,
so
I
you
didn't
have
know
to.
that.
So they need to be in a certain temperature, which is perfect down here. I have black curtains, black sliders on my window, so it's like a dungeon down here. That's what I tell everybody, because
It's like a
I could turn a
So
light on and you'd see a lot. It'd be a lot bright if I just keep certain lights on when I'm down here.
okay, so it's like a film humidor, kind of like you have.
Yeah, basically just to keep everything, not just the film reels, but the masks, just latex over time tends to deteriorate and
Right.
wear away too, and it gets cracked. This is a 16 millimeter commercial that would advertise Halloween that you'd see in the TV, like a you watch on TV channel, whatever local channel. So that's actually
Oh, really?
one of those.
That's what that looks like, huh? Yeah, and I guess having all the mass and plastic to stop them from deteriorating wouldn't have the same effect, obviously, without them, being out the way they are. I mean, on those the little mannequin heads or whatever it is, it's
Right.
I
Well,
don't know. I
actually, you know what?
like it.
The best thing to use. You don't use mannequin heads because I'm not a big mask collector other than this, but people I've followed over the years said what you do is you buy paper towel holders and you stuff them with um, plastic bags because those styrofoam heads over time actually do cause the latex to deteriorate.
No shit. See, I wouldn't even know that. So that's
Yeah.
good for people that have mass around. I notice. I mean, obviously, you're Pat, the Halloween movie collector, so you saw all these movies. You've seen Halloween, obviously, and Friday the 13th, and all the other, like Freddy Krueger and Chucky and all these.
Horror in
And
general,
they're all
yeah.
good in their own ways, but for you gravitated towards Halloween. Why? Why that particular franchise out of all of them?
Like I said, I call that one movie that changed everything for you your gateway drug. And when I saw it, it was my gateway drug to horror. So it was the
Okay.
one that started it all for me. And then seeing Halloween 2 in the theater, which was the first horror movie I saw in the theater, first Halloween movie, but it was the first horror movie I ever saw in the theater. So
Right.
that still sticks with me, being there with my older brother who took me and some of my friends, and being there in 82 for Halloween 3. So that's the stuff that just drew me to it, and that it's stuck with me ever since. And the reason I have friends that collect all sorts of stuff. Like actually, the two guys that do the podcast with me collect other horror entities. I stick
Right.
with Halloween simply for two reasons. One, finances, because there's only so much you can get, and two, space. I'm running out of space. Like this goes all the way around.
Yeah.
My wife will tell you the story how this used to be like the kids' playroom years ago. So a lot of the stuff really wasn't displayed. Only a small bit of it was. And
Right.
little by little, they got older and they didn't have sleepovers down here anymore. And they started doing their own thing. So every time my wife comes down, she's like, I just see it spreading. It's like a disease. It just goes around the room now.
Yeah,
All
it's
the way
like
over here.
Halloween down there every day. There, what's the, I'm sorry to interrupt. What's the on the behind you on the ground? Is that a blanket or is that a quilt? What is that on the
These
on
are
the
these are
ground?
small little like throw rugs.
Oh, okay.
This and there's actually two other ones too, but I don't have them out. But they're like throw rugs that a company called Creepy Company is that put out. So there's throw rugs. There's so many things that I can't like here. I brought these out because I have a filing cabinet filled up there, a filing cabinet filled with like press materials and stuff. So now
Oh,
this is the
wow.
stuff that I love. Like so stuff like this you would see. This is a German press kit for when Halloween was released in Germany.
Okay.
So that's all the stuff that's European is really cool. Actually,
Hmm.
no, was that the German one? Yeah, that was a German one. This is a UK Halloween press kit, which is cool with that.
And this is all from collector to collector, or getting it online, or both, or
Online, some stuff from collector. Actually, a lot of the stuff, a lot of the press kits, none of these, with the exception of this, which is Halloween, as you know, was a low budget film. So there was not a lot of
yeah. Was it like
money.
300K or something? It was not
It was actually 300,000, but then they were able to secure an extra $25,000 because that was Donald Pleasant's fee to star in the film was $25,000.
right. And they needed him. Without him, I don't think it would have done as well.
So
Obviously,
they
and then
managed to get the extra money out of Mustafa Akkad, who put the
yeah,
money up. So
thank God.
they couldn't do press kits. They did things called a press book. So this is
Okay,
like
I've seen that.
advertising it and everything. So basically, just like a synopsis of the film and stuff that
Okay.
you'd see in newspapers.
Right. I remember the newspaper ads that looked a little bit like that, the prints, and then there was the comic book, and then it was, there was, I just remember this stuff as being younger. I don't know if I'll ever see it ever again. You probably have it somewhere in there, but it's, everyone, like those masks. I mean, have you ever seen, not that you're looking to sell all this stuff, but obviously it's a huge you've dumped a lot of money into it, and that's like your baby, so to speak. So, what do you think that would be valued at? Everything that you have there in today's market, between the
A
masks and
whole
the
collection as
memorabilia,
a
and
whole.
like a
Um,
roundabout ballpark. What do you think? Everything, like the hard to get stuff, the stuff that's, I mean, there's stuff that you can't get anymore, obviously. So,
I would honestly say if it's sold on today's market, especially with Halloween being as hot as it is, between $65,000 and $70,000 maybe.
oh wow, and
Because
that's
one of the things
way
I can show
more.
you right here, like which I showed you last night,
Yeah,
which
let's
is
see this. I
if
want
you're a
people.
Halloween fan, this is one thing you're coveted. I'll actually pull it out of the plastic case
This
because
is
this
like
way.
your holy grail, right? Is about to.
It for most Halloween collectors, this is the holy grail. So back in 1983, this came out. A Halloween Atari cartridge, 2600 came out. So these
Wow.
things are extremely rare. You can find the cartridges; they're pretty readily available on. You can see them without the box and the manual and everything on eBay for between $500 and $1,000. But you don't.
Mm.
It's hard to find them in the box, and the box in really good condition. This one, actually, one of these days I have to have it graded because I know it'll grade really high and it'll be worth a lot.
Yeah.
So
Oh, so
basically,
they'll grade that too, like they would, like Steiner does, like baseball
oh
stuff
yeah,
like that. Like, yeah.
yeah. Everybody's like, Pat, you
Oh,
got to get that graded because so just
to
to
get it
give you
insured,
insured too. It,
right?
just to give you a comparison. So this, I think it was about 6 months ago, one sold, and it was in good condition, but not as mint as this one, and it sold for $10,000 on eBay.
Wow. And this was just straight up someone buying it, or was it a bid? Like, did it? Like,
It was an auction. No,
it
no,
wasn't.
actually, no. I think it was a starting. It was a buy it now for 10,000, if I remember correctly.
And then they probably put like a floor on it, where they won't take under a certain amount. Like I know
Right. So,
some people
right,
do
if they
that.
worked something behind it, but it said it sold for $10,000. There was one
Hmm.
last year that sold. That was the box was kind of beat up, and nowhere near this. It sold for about $6,500. Um, you find it without the box with maybe the instruction manual. You can find them for about $1,500 to $2,000. And it's funny. So my son is going to be the keeper of all this. God forbid the day I go, because it'll all go to them. They could do it after I drop dead, but my son will be the keeper of everything because he'll watch everything. And I told him what this was worth because I trust him. My daughter, should have this thing on eBay for gas money in 5 minutes. So.
You mean some of these things we might have to throw? God forbid, we're gonna have to like toss into your coffin, like you're taking that shit with you, right? I mean, that's
That that was always the joke with my father, who passed away actually was it 14 years ago the other day. So his big
yeah.
joke was, "Oh, he's like, well, you and your brother are not getting anything." He's like, "It's in my will. When I die, all the money's going in travel checks, and I'm gonna have the coroner stuff it up my ass, and I'm taking it all with me."
That's yeah, right. Uh-huh. Okay.
So that's
Hey.
just some of the stuff, the really rare stuff that I have, and I have tons of other stuff. Like I said, I can bring out tons of stuff. Go for those. He's got it. Greg's got it there. Go to my Instagram. So I tell everybody about my Instagram because basically, I I copied it from John Five. Anybody out there who's a Rob Zombie fan who's now a fan of
There it is.
Motley Crue, the guitar player John Five is probably has the most amazing Kiss collection on the planet that
Oh, really?
rivals like Gene Simmons's collection. He has the stuff you cannot believe this guy has.
Yeah, and I remember watching Family Jewels and seeing all his stuff in his office, like Gene Simmons' office, and like that kind of stuff, like shit you just haven't seen since like '78 or
Yes,
'75
and
or
John
whatever it is.
Five has that in spades, if not more, because he's got all the
Really?
old. Because he only collects the stuff from the '70s, basically the original band stuff up till I think about '82 or '83, and
All right,
he's
so
got the stuff
once
that's like,
Peter Chris was gone, which was what,
well,
81, 82.
well, he stayed with them with the Eric Carr years until they basically until they took the makeup off.
That
That's
was in
pretty much where
'85, I think, right? Did they take it over '83 or
83,
'85?
83.
'83 on
So
MTV. I remember that. Yeah.
I mentioned how I'm a big Kiss collector back in the day. I'm still a diehard Kiss fan since '75.
Mm.
He's got a page on Instagram called because if you remember back in the day, especially being a Kiss fan, but remember the religious people would sit there and say that Kiss stood for Knights in Satan's Service, which is a load of horse shit.
Something like that. I remember they
Yeah.
did that when they were in Detroit or
So
something. That
go on
happened. Yeah.
Instagram. There's a page called Knights in Satan's Service. It's John Five's page. So he posts every day something from his collection, and I've heard him in interviews say like, well, this way I can share it with everybody. Why just keep it in a room? People want to see stuff like this. I can share it. Plus, when he travels the world looking for this stuff, it's like a database. You can go back and scroll. Oh yeah, I do have that. So that's why I started my Instagram page. That's why if you go on there, you'll see a lot of posts, which is just a collectible. Because I'll be out somewhere and if I see something, I'm like, shit, do I have that? Scroll down my Instagram page. I'm like, oh, yep, there it is. I have it, or I don't have it. So that's why I started that page. So you can see everything I have on that page.
All right, let's go. Well, we're going to have him on, both of you at the same time or something. I'm sure he's as energetic and definitely as passionate as you are. I mean, even if somebody isn't in Halloween, like that's not their thing. They don't like horror movies. Is it like you mentioned this? You touched on this earlier. It didn't have a lot. We're talking about the original now, the classics, 1978. Didn't have a lot of gore, like hardly any. You didn't really see him as much until the movie, meaning The Shape, Michael Myers, till the movie progressed. It was more or less, where is he? He's coming, which built up the suspense more than seeing him constantly. Genius, absolute genius. So, and you don't real, and just the camera angles and just things that it takes, like we said, it takes several times. That, like, I'm embarrassed to say the first movie, when I saw it, and then I saw like the TV version and everything, and they added scenes that you never saw before because they had to make up, for commercial time. But the part where Laurie, Jamie Lee Curtis is sitting in the classroom, she's sitting in the back in the classroom. It's a classic moment, And he pulls up in Loomis's station wagon there. Do you know? I kid you not even the first 5 or 10 times that I saw the movie, I saw. And I'm trying to make out the vehicle and the emblem for official use that's on the station wagon, which, by the way, wasn't that John Carpenter's car? I believe it was.
No,
It was
it was actually a rented. Yeah, a lot of people used to say it was his station wagon, but no. But side note, real quick, not to interrupt, but that original station wagon exists. There's a guy who owns it, found it, restored it, and takes it to horror conventions.
Get the now that I'd go and see. I sat in the Back to the Future car, the what do you call it, DeLorean, at like a car show, like in somewhere in Bordentown or something years ago. But that I'd love to do. Like I've touched, didn't go on it, but I touched the Orca, the boat from Jaws and everything, and that kind of stuff. But see, I like stuff like that, and even at our age, still to us. I'm 1978. I'm 8 years old again doing that. I'm starstruck by that. They're like, to me, even being the age that that we are, and we're similar in age, to us, deep down, like that's still cool.
That's
like you
amazing.
want to do that. It's like, and
Yeah,
I know a lot of people feel that way. They do.
I was at a convention in where was that? Was it Oaks, Pennsylvania? One of they have these Monstervania conventions. They do them in Cherry Hill too, in Jersey, and the guy was there with the station wagon. So, and you could take pictures with it. You could take pictures with John Carpenter but at the time, it was so backed up I couldn't get a photo because I was there 11 o'clock in the morning. They're like, well, we can't get you until 6 o'clock at night. I'm like, and I needed to leave. But he's like, take as many photos as you want. He's like, do whatever you want. He's like, don't worry about it. And he was the guy that owns it. Very nice gentleman. I asked him, where did he find it? He said it was actually found in like an old barn because it was like a rental car. And I guess they went to auction eventually because old rental cars, they'll auction them off for cheap. And he found it. He restored it. He also owns one of the original, and it was actually at the show too. He owns one of the original, because there was several of them made, original cars from Christine, the Plymouth Fury. He's got one of them.
Oh wow!
So that was there.
That would be worth something, even if it wasn't in a movie. If it was in mint,
it's all totally restored. Everything is mint, both cars. And then he said, and now he was on the hunt for. He said he had a line on it. Now this is 2 years ago, so I don't know how good that line was. He was this close to getting the red Monte Carlo from the original Halloween, the one where Annie drives and picks Jamie Lee Curtis up in. The one where Michael follows them.
Yeah, that's another weird part. While you're on that, like, aren't they driving? Then all of a sudden, it's dark out. Do you remember that? Like, what the hell was that?
Yeah, that's one of the goofs and gaffes. And actually, shout out everybody out there. Go on the channel. I have a video called 67 Mistakes in Halloween. And I go through all the continuity errors and the goofs and gaffes, which make it charming. It's not like a knock on it. It makes the movie that much more charming. And you always look for stuff to see if you can find stuff. And that was one of them. And the odd thing is, if you read the novelization, the novelization of the film, which obviously has a lot more backstory, which actually gives you a reason. If you read the novelization, it gives you a reason why Myers is the way he is. It's actually a curse, but that's a story for another time. It goes in depth. But during the novelization, the scene where he's following them, it goes a lot longer. Like they're driving around town. Like when you first got your license, you drove around town looking for people hanging out with your friends. That's what they were doing, but they never added that part in. That's why it goes from like
Yeah.
dark, from light to dark, because they were out.
Like quickly, like
Yeah,
a
they were
spe-
just cruising
and
around their
they're
town in theory, but
and
it
at
just
the
seemed
hardware
that way.
store too. Was there something more to the hardware store part, or am I wrong about that?
Hardware store thing just didn't make sense because where it
He
was placed
broke
in the
in and he
film.
got rope and a knife and a mask. Like, why did he pick the William Shatner man? Like, I don't know. It just seemed at
No,
the time it seemed okay, but
the part that gets most people is the time of day, because now you remember it's late in the day, school's out, they're on their way to go trick-or-treating. Why is the alarm going off in the store that should have been open all day long at
right. It's
like
like the middle of the
5
day.
o'clock? Yeah.
I didn't even think of that. Right. It's like 3 o'clock or whatever
Yeah.
time it is. It's daytime.
Yeah,
He
that was one
broke
of the
in.
continuity errors. Yeah.
Yeah. So the store is closed on a weekday. Okay, I got you.
That's the whole
So,
thing. It's
but
just like that doesn't make any sense. And go watch the video, you'll get a kick out of it. It's pretty funny. And the best part is when they talk on the phone, Linda and Lori, about her getting picked up to go babysitting, because they're right by each other, babysitting that night. They
Right.
say, she's like, "Oh, I'll pick you up at 6:30." Well, if you look at Halloween in 1978, it was on a Tuesday, and 6:30 at night would have been dark out. She gets picked up in daylight.
Yeah. Plus, they're not wearing any coats or anything. Not
Yeah,
that it's
there's so many
supposed to
things like
mean
that, but
yeah.
and people like, and I say, look, when I
the
say mistake,
lockers. The lockers at the high school. They're walking outside. Like, since when does a high school in Illinois have outside
outside
lockers? You'd
lockers.
freeze your ass
Yep,
off.
yep. Or if you go watch the scene where Donald Pleasance is at the phone booth, where he sees that pickup truck and he finds
R-
Michael Myers stuff.
Right.
Watch just as he's getting out of that phone booth. Look in that phone booth. You see the reflection of the cameraman.
Oh, do you? I didn't see. I never noticed. I know
Okay,
that's where you get the original overalls and everything from the guy. And that's another thing. You had some kills every now and then that you didn't see, and they were
off
still
screen.
creepy. Yeah,
Yep.
they were still creepy, and none of them come right to my mind real quick. But that was the genius of John Carpenter, the way that he did it. And going back to what I was saying, when she's sitting in that classroom and she sees the car is there, the station wagon is there, and I'm trying to make out the emblem. Do you know, because of the back, the way it's juxtapositioned, I guess you could say, because of the light, I didn't see him standing there with the mask on outside of the car. I swear, I know that sounds
Right.
ridiculous. I never
No, a
at the
lot of
first
people
few times
didn't.
I didn't see it.
Yeah.
I didn't see him. Then I noticed the car's gone because she was talking to the teacher or whatever, and she's able to give like an on point, perfect answer, even though she's not even paying attention. Which again, and then they did it again. What was it, 2018 or whatever? It was the granddaughter that was sitting, but this time it's Laurie Strode outside. I
Right.
do
Yep.
remember that. But I remember, and I felt like such a fool. I can't believe I'm saying this live, but why not? Um, if I'm going to have absolution, it might as well be to you. But I never saw the face. I
A lot of people
never
didn't. It was hard to see because
really. I
you got
didn't
to
know.
remember, it's the way it was shot with the like the anamorphic lens back then. You really didn't see it, especially
It was
now.
light behind him, so I didn't. There was no
Right.
contrast or whatever. Yeah.
Now high
Yep.
definition, widescreen versions, 4K, you can see everything now. What a lot
Right.
of people didn't know, if you see the scene where Donald Pleasance is talking to the Sheriff Brackett, and Sheriff
Yeah.
Brackett says, give me 5 minutes. He walks away, and then you see Myers drive the station wagon behind him.
That I did see, but that
But
took at least two
widescreen,
times. Yeah.
watch it on widescreen. You see him pull up and stop at the stop sign. You see him well
Oh,
before he.
really?
Yeah, watch it on widescreen. You can see him pull up, and if you zoom in, you can actually see him look both ways. Like, believe it
Well,
or
I mean,
not.
he's trying to be conscientious, being that he has no license. He's been in there since he was sick, but he could drive like a motherfucker. I mean, that's beautiful.
That was always
Maybe
the
someone
best.
there gave him lessons.
Yep. And that was one of the other gaffes too. Just later on, when you see certain shots of the station wagon, or more so the van that you see later on with PJ Souls, well, Bob and Linda, it's a California license plate. You're supposed to be in Illinois.
Oh yeah, you know what? I think I did the blue. Wasn't it blue? Like the
No, it's actually white. It's well,
and I'm not.
it was a different color back then. I don't know if it was. No, it was the
I
blue
could
one
have.
back then.
I
Yeah,
thought it was the
it was the blue
prior
one.
to the California white one with the rainbow
It
or
was
whatever
blue.
that is.
Yep.
Prior to that, I thought it was blue, but maybe I'm thinking that like New York was like an orange one back then. So I could be wrong, but I saw a different license plate. There is a part. What movie was it? Halloween. There's one where she walks past a car or whatever, and the car on the street is the same license plate as another car. Same plate, different car. I don't think it was Halloween. I
No, it wasn't
forgot which
Halloween,
car.
but no, I'd like to know what that one was. I love
Oh
finding
shit!
stuff like that.
Now we're both going to be tortured thanks to me. Now we're going to be thinking about this.
I'll be googling it and researching later. Don't worry
But
about
I
it.
did mention to you that one of your watch. I was going to say sing-alongs. Yes, I'll join you for a sing-along. That'll last a long time. We'll
Oh,
have
that won't
almost
last long.
two
You don't need to
viewers.
hear me sing.
There'll be two viewers, you and me. But
Hmm.
yeah, unless it's Sinatra, unless I'm doing it in the shower. But I mentioned to you in one of the watch-alongs when I came into your YouTube. That was a few months ago. I mentioned in Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers, where they're in sheriff's house. You know, they're all bolted in. You know, they're trapped in there. I remember specifically when little Jamie comes out and Rachel, that was the other, the girl that was in there, which they should
Hmm.
have never killed her off. She fought
Big
off
mistake.
so
Big
great
mistake.
in 4, and then 5 she gets stabbed with scissors. What the fuck? But
Yeah.
it just didn't seem like the right way. It was a disrespectful kind of kill off. That's just me. That's just
No,
how I
it's
feel.
everybody, not just you.
But in 4, if you want, I don't know if you ever went and checked this out, but I did mention this to you, and this is going to remind you that I definitely did. That when Rachel goes up the stairs, she goes, Jamie. And instead of Jamie saying Rachel, she goes, Lori. Do you remember me telling you that?
I think,
When
yeah, I
she
remember you
says,
saying that. I have to go back and listen for that. I've not checked that, but I'm going to write that down because I do have to check
I'm
that out.
telling you, I just watched it again. It's on AMC right now. They're having a what do you call it? There's
Marathon? Yeah.
yeah, it's like
Fear Fest.
they do, which I kind of like. They always mixed up. Like the other day, it was all like Freddy Krueger, then it was all Jason, and now we're back to. But this is going to be the original, because a lot of times, for whatever reason, maybe you could answer this. I don't know if it's an East Coast thing or what. How come they'll play the original Halloween, and then they skip right over 2, and they go right to 4? Why do they do
Oh,
that?
The only thing I could think of is
It
because if
sucks. I
you,
like part 2.
yeah, oh God, do I? The thing I can only think of is that if you notice, they tend to skip. They show it sometimes, and it must be a licensing thing because Halloween 2 and Halloween 3 are Universal from Universal Pictures. They hold the
Okay.
licensing to it. So I guess if AMC doesn't make a deal with them, then they can't show them because those are the only two that are well, with the exception of the last 3 in the trilogy, they're Universal distributing now, but all the other films weren't. Like a lot of them were Dimension, Miramax, Anchor
And
Bay.
Compass, wasn't Compass one? Why do I know that name? Compass. That was
Compass
the
was the
first one?
original. So the company is called Trancas now. Compass was the original company. Then it morphed
Okay.
into Trancas, which holds the rights to. That was Mustafa Khan's company, which is now his son, that holds the rights to Halloween. But yeah,
Right. And the
that's the reason
shittiest
why.
jack-o'-lantern that I've ever seen in my life that they used in the first one. What the fuck? A 3-year-old did that. What the hell was
Right
that?
here. That's my replica right there.
All right, but okay, but seriously, now part 2 was better because it had the skull in it, and I actually have a magnet like that of the skull. Remember that one? And I had the poster. I have a Shocker poster too, which is really cool too. But I don't know. I guess they were just in the moment, but it didn't seem like they knew. Look, that was the golden age. I don't care what anyone says. They say the 50s. Come on, 1973 from Exorcist, let's say, or even before that, French Connection. Not even horror movies, all the way to like maybe 79. Every friggin' movie, you had Jaws and you had Exorcist, you had Star Wars, you had Rocky, you had Halloween. When will there? What do you call it, Death Wish? And there's probably a ton more that I'm missing. Halloween started the slasher thing, even though it wasn't really a slasher movie like
Right.
what we identify as a slasher. But then there was Mother's Day and Friday the 13th and like all these other ridiculous bullshit movies. Very few of them were good. I did like Silent Night, Deadly Night.
Silent Night, Deadly Night, a lot of fun. A
Naughty.
lot of fun.
Yeah, no,
Naughty.
yeah.
Mhm.
And you actually felt bad for the kid. The nuns were kicking his ass and everything.
Yeah.
But and I remember they pulled it. They pulled it like here in the U.S. or whatever. We saw it on VHS. We had to go like
Right.
rent it.
Yeah,
Don't
me
be
too.
fined. Please
Yep.
rewind. I don't know why they put now. That could be a commercial now in 2000.
That's what it is. We've become so desensitized because of basically horror morphed into gore. Like how look at the Saw franchise. How outlandish can we kill somebody to get people to come back and watch?
There's a lot of thought behind that. The first Saw was genius because he's there,
was.
alive, on the floor, and then you had Jigsaw. Now that's not creepy. That fucking guy coming on a tricycle. Yeah, that didn't keep anyone up. But and then it kind of got to like they were trying to they were fighting with themselves. They were competing at like, what can we do now? What could it be? Like, make your decision. I want to play a game. You know,
How
and it seemed like
outlandish.
they were competing with themselves to outdo the last movie, and that doesn't work for me. They should have ended it with Saw, and that'd be the end of it. But it's all about money. I get it.
They make money, so
With
they keep putting it out.
Halloween, there's a story. Thank God it wasn't called the Babysitter Killers. What the hell was that?
Right, exactly. And but the Saw, just to give everybody hope, the new Saw movie, Saw X, which is the 10th in the installment,
Yeah, how was it?
picks up after part one. So you can
Oh,
negate all the other
really?
crap. And it's actually really good. It's just it takes you right back to the first one.
You
So
you
it's
saw
actually
it recently. You
I
saw
saw
it.
it. Yeah, it's actually pretty good. It's it's good because it was not to without being too spoilery for those that haven't seen it. It's actually, if you watch it, it's an attack on him personally that he goes after these people, and it's
Did
pretty
he die?
cool.
Did he die in one of them? Or
Well, this is like sort of before, like this is supposed to pick up
oh.
after part one.
All right. Well,
So
and you know what? It seems like whenever you want to blow some life, breathe some life, I should say, into something in a franchise, it seems like they always go back to their roots. They just kind of reset. They go home.
that's it. That's what they got to do
Uh,
because some of the other stuff is just Halloween is guilty of it too. Shit, Halloween. And now I have to say, probably right after Resurrection in the early 2000s,
no, I didn't like that one.
Halloween was very this close to becoming direct to video, and they actually wanted to do a crossover because they had big success with Jason versus Freddy was a big success. So
I don't know how. I
mention
just saw it for the first time the other day. I thought it sucked. Freddie and
I'm not a
Jason.
big
It
fan
didn't
of
make
it.
any sense to me. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of it because it basically it's just an hour and 45 minutes of Freddy Krueger making Jason look like a bitch. But
Yeah, I
Halloween
saw.
franchise was this close to being it
Yeah.
was going to be Michael Myers versus Pinhead from Hellraiser. It was this close.
See, as much as I want to say that's ridiculous, there's a little guy that's in the back of my head going, "That's fucking cool." Like, you know,
Because they were
Pinhead.
both owned by Dimension at the time, Dimension Films, and they were going to do a crossover because both of them
Mm.
were kind of in the shitter at the time. Because after Resurrection, Halloween was
Oh
kind of in the
God, with
crapper.
Ludacris and Tyra That was just another. They
Oh,
tried
I was
too
Buster
hard.
Rhymes. Drink a treat, motherfucker. Ugh,
Yeah, come on. It was just, and what was the one? Was it that movie? What was the movie where they went to the old? No, it was part
Resurrection.
5. No. Which was the one where they showed the Myers house and it didn't look anything close to
Oh,
what the Myers house.
it went from this small rinky house to a gothic mansion in Salt Lake City.
Where the the cop is hanging outside. What was that? 5?
That was 5. That was part 5.
Made no
Yeah.
sense. 0 sense.
Yep.
At least when they went to the other one, the one that came out in 1995, I guess that was 6. At least that was supposed to be Strode's brother. Okay, I could buy that, and then his family's in there.
It
And
passed for a Myers house.
that one, right? But that other one, like you said, wasn't even fucking close. It was like a Victorian home.
It was
I'm
like a
"Whoa,
giant bed and breakfast.
round. What the fuck were they thinking? The
I
editor
know.
was like, "Yeah, that's cool." I mean,
It was this
It-
French director that they hired, who was actually recommended by Deborah Hill, who co-wrote the original and was John Carpenter's producer on the first 3 rather. And she recommended him. She saw one of his films, and then they hired him. And he was trying to be too artsy fartsy with something that shouldn't have been artsy fartsy.
yeah, well, the French are assholes. What are you gonna do? But it's what movie is that? Dumb and Dumber. Because I don't know, man. The French are assholes.
Well, what
But,
about you watch Everybody Loves Raymond, Frank Barone? I don't appreciate the French. Peter Boyle.
Oh, it's funny because I'm looking at the mask up here in the right hand corner. That's obviously from part 4, but to me, the original one, being that it was from it was supposed to be it was William Shatner, but it was supposed to be for like a 1975 movie or something like that. But I just remember reading or seeing something. I don't think it was on YouTube. You could correct me if I'm wrong because you would know this. The Didn't it yellow out or something being under Deborah Hill's bed for like
That's
a
the
while,
story.
and like it got yellow because she was a smoker? Is that true?
That's the story, and
Okay.
I think a
You know
little
what I'm
bit
talking about.
it was more to do with she was a heavy smoker. She did
You know.
eventually die of cancer.
I know it was sad. Yeah.
Very young, which was a shame. That one was like a
She was
pioneer.
was she married to John Carpenter or no?
No, they dated up until probably I guess around. I think he broke up right around The Fog, but they still remained friends and they were still in business together because The Fog is
Right.
where what's it?
I know what you're going to
Adrian
say.
Barbeau came in, and
Adrian
that's who he
Barbeau, I
married.
love her.
He married her, and his son Cody Carpenter is one of the ones who does all the soundtracks with him now. And they're
I
since
freaking love
divorced,
Adrian
obviously.
Barbeau, man.
I
Swamp
know.
Thing. I used to stare at her boobs like that
Swamp Thing.
poster. And Creep Show she was in, but they didn't show much. But come on,
Escape
Cannonball
from
Run,
New York.
The Fog, Escape from New York, right? Yeah, Cannonball Run. I mean, just her with the. I have sweatpants. I can't talk about this now.
her frontal assets. Yes.
I love.
I started
Big
watching her on
eyes,
TV.
man, big
She
eyes.
was in Maude. Remember the TV show Maude? She was the daughter. She was
Of
B.
course I
Arthur's
remember.
daughter.
I don't, and she's still like she's really cool about. And I heard now you went through this. I've got kind of a scatterbrain here, Pat. But before we take one more break, I wanted to say the fact that people like with Halloween, some people are like, oh, I'm not into those type of movies. I'm surprised that I run into someone every now and then, and it's, oh, I never saw it, or this is the one I hate the worst. I saw bits and pieces. How the hell do you see bits and pieces of a movie like Halloween? It wouldn't make any sense. What part did you see bits and pieces of? When he was 6, or at the end where it would make no sense? I hate, just either watch the movie or don't. And I hate people that interrupt the movie. I'm trying to watch The Shining. There's enough shit I got to try to concentrate with Stanley Kubrick's all over the goddamn
Oh
place.
yeah,
But,
and what a great film.
that's another conversation for another day.
Yes, love
But
that
it's
film.
holy shit. I got enough going on here. I got people talking and asking stupid questions. And in the theater, when we went to go see, I went with my son because he's into it too. We went in 2013 for the 35th anniversary to see the original one, unedited, all that on a big screen. I'd never seen it on a big screen like that. And it was the original with the little cigarette marks and all the stuff that makes it cool. You know what I'm talking about. And everything. And then we saw the ones that were subsequent ones that came after the trilogy, if you want to call it. We did not see the Rob Zombie ones in the movies, but I've seen them. I thought the second one sucked. First one was okay.
Yeah, the
But
second
once
one.
again, they changed the character of the kid, and it's too much to handle. That you gotta, you're onto this. Okay, I accept that this is a reboot, and now Sherry Moon is in that one. All right, thank God. And now he's got a beard. It was weird to me.
They call him Hobo
Myers.
Myers.
To recognize some of these guys, but you don't really recognize them. Where do I know that guy from? Was he friends with Lenny and Squiggy? Like, you don't know what the fuck is going on, and I'm pissed. I want to have control, and I had none. And come on, they're in a farmhouse and the white horse, and it was just too much to digest.
That was the thing for me. Well, those two Rob Zombie movies, because that's 07 and 09, that's when my kids were very young. My daughter was only a couple years old. My son was still young. So I went and saw them in the theater, both movies by myself. So watch the first one, the beginning of it, the whole trailer park aspect of it, which is a trademark of a lot of zombie movies. I could do without. I've since learned to just chalk it up to comedic humor because it's just actually at this point just makes you laugh. And the rest of the movie is not so bad because they do use a lot of the original filming locations, so it gave you a little bit of that. But yeah, the first part, the second film. Now in the first one, Sherry Moon kills herself. Okay, so now Michael Myers' mom, Deborah.
Now she's a ghost. Yeah,
she's killed herself.
Right.
So now I'm sitting in the theater in Marshalls Creek, Pennsylvania. And I'm waiting for it to start. And I'm thinking, I'm like, all right, how is he going to bring her back to life? Because she's in every one of his goddamn films. And he killed her in the last film. Then I saw it. I'm like, she's a ghost. There you go. I was just waiting to see how he brought her back. And I'm like, well, there you go. He killed her. Well, why not have a ghost?
Yeah, it didn't make a whole. The girl that played the girl and everything, it was good. But not to, like I said, not to derail myself or us too much, but it was just, you get used to, you got to be introduced to the character. Any story has an arc. You know, there's the beginning, there's the plot, there's the middle, there's the end. Okay. And it just seemed there was just too much going on that was, you get used to it, going back again to the Danielle Harris thing. Now, the fact that Rob Zombie figured out what was going on, and I thought that was an ode to him, that he put her in it. She deserved.
That was.
Even though she was Annie,
good.
But she deserved to be. But once again, I feel like a goddamn pedophile because here I am. She's a little girl in the other one, and now she's having sex, and everybody's trying to get a look at her boobs and stuff like that. In that one, I'm like, this is the same little girl that we were just watching a few hours ago on AMC. I feel like a goddamn
perv.
You know, a pervert. Yeah.
Hey, we all were thinking the same thing because she's how old is she now? She's about 46 years old. She's not that young anymore. And that scene with her that's pre-boob job because she's since had a boob job.
Yeah, I mean, she's having like whatever. She was having relations on the couch, and then she's being dragged all over the place. That's a lot for any actress to have to do. But I'm just saying, like, this is also the little girl from the other one. So I
That you
kind of
fell in love
felt
with from
like,
the other two films, right? And here she is naked. Yep. Well,
and
mostly
then you're
naked.
rooting for it. Yeah, and I kind of felt weird. I'm like, what the hell is wrong with me? They're going to lock me away if anyone could, But it's
I
all right.
know.
I'm glad that I'm not alone there. But it's
No,
just
you're not.
I like the fact he put her in and let her live to be in the second one because that would have sucked.
Right.
But
Yeah, it was
there's
good.
nothing
Yeah,
if those movies came out and then Halloween 1 and 2 and everything came out, it wouldn't have the same effect. It was the right thing at the right time,
exactly.
kind of like how Rocky hit it at the right time, how Jaws was the first summer blockbuster. It's a timing thing, and a lot of these
Lightning in
movies
a bottle.
almost weren't made. They almost didn't make the French Connection. They almost didn't make Jaws. They almost didn't make Star Wars. They almost put uh, different people instead of Al Pacino as Michael Corleone. Like so many things that we read about now, going that would have been a disaster. How Burgess Meredith was almost Lee J. Cobb, but he was too good to audition. And then all of a sudden, Burgess Meredith walks in. Now, can you picture anyone other than Burgess Meredith as Mickey?
I
You
know.
can't.
Yeah.
But at the time, we don't know that. So it's just the way that things happen, and they all could go bad. They also could all go good and work. And it's lightning in a bottle, like you said. It's a good metaphor for how these movies are made and how they're judged and how they're cherished by people like us and the fans that are listening and watching. And just the fact that you take the time, you don't care what people say, you don't care what people do. You're going to get what you want, and whether let's say your family wasn't on board just for a second or whatever.
Hmm.
That's your thing. That's your Halloween man cave and everything. I like it. Not everyone's into that, but you have to appreciate it. Like if you had all Kiss stuff, and let's say I liked rap music, which I'd rather put a bullet in my head, but still,
You and me
I
both.
would still appreciate the fact that all the blood, sweat, and tears and time, and not just the money. Forget about the money for a second. That the fact that you do it and you would want it to go to someone, not just money wise. The way I felt about it when I had a big DJing record collection and everything, I wanted to go to someone that would appreciate it. It wasn't just about the money. Someone that it would be an eye opener, and they had that awesome feeling I can't describe what you get when you go down and see that stuff. The original Halloween 3 ones in the corner. You got to have it right. You got to have the skull in the middle and the witch glass and the pumpkin. Like, see, I understand that. Not everyone does, but you took the time, and that's commendable. I don't care if people like horror, don't like horror, whatever. That's just, it's impressive, man. And I congratulate you
No,
because
thank you. I appreciate it. And
it's,
people collect
it,
all sorts of things,
I
and
love
they're
that
passionate
stuff.
about it. I tell people all the time. People reach out, talk about the collection, or follow on Instagram, and I just tell them. I said, there's just whatever floats your boat, whatever makes you happy. If it's not bringing you happiness, then don't do it. That's the thing. You see a lot of people that become too obsessed with things, and they get a little out of hand, and it's just like, or if they don't have everything. I've actually talked to a couple collectors like that. Where if they don't have everything, it's like they get angry. I'm like, if it's making you upset, don't do it. It's supposed to. I come down here, I'll put a
Right.
movie on. Over here, I have some theater chairs. I'll watch TV. I'll watch a movie, and it's relaxing. I play with guitar. My guitars are over here. This is where I practice
Right.
before I go out and play. I go. It's a place where I could just go hang out and unwind and relax. It's for lack of, yeah. Everybody has their man cave. It's basically my man cave where I could just go hang out, do some stuff. I could do some work, for work, not necessarily just stuff for the podcast, and just hang out. It's just, it should make you happy. If it's not making you happy,
It's a different that's your world. I mean, you have your own world. It's the same, but it's different. That one's yours. There's many like it, but this one's yours. No, I mean, you understand what I'm saying. I think it's extremely extremely impressive. And I like everything in there. I'm sure you have another thing or two that you want to show. It's going to take one more quick break, and then we're going to wrap it up with Pat the Halloween Collector, which I'm enjoying seeing all
cool.
this stuff. And for those that are listening, it's the guy knows a lot about it. Obviously, because you're going to get one past him. You better savor the flavor because it's not going to happen often. You're listening to 88.6. This is WGAT live in New Jersey with Pat the Halloween Collector on the Mean Machine Radio Show. We shall be back wrapping it up with Pat right after this. Don't go anywhere, people. Should be good. I'm having fun with it. I'm sure everybody else is. 88.6 WGAT, the Me Machine radio show. You are watching and listening 2 days before Halloween. There we are, less than 48 hours. That's like everything to this guy right here, Pat, the Halloween movie collector. And we had a little bit of time left, Pat. So I wanted to say, I mean, not only is your collection impressive and your knowledge is absolutely off the charts and everything, but what about there's got to be people out there that I would think that, like, what advice would you give to someone who maybe has a lot smaller of a collection or is wondering what's worth something? Like, how would you approach if someone said, "Hey, Pat," and you met them on the street, say, "Oh man, I loved watching your show on YouTube and everything, and I want to collect that stuff. Where do I start? How do I do it? How do I not get ripped off? Like, how, because I'm sure that stuff is out there. There's going to be knockoffs and people,
Yes.
just like anything else. What's the best advice that you think that you could give to young or old person, whoever it is, any type of collector or horror enthusiast? What would be like the main thing, like the pitfalls, something that you could share with them that would help them attain what you have right there, which is an impressive. I mean, that could take someone their entire life to get what you got back there and then some. What would you tell them?
Research is everything. Talk to people, meet people. I since I started the Instagram page, probably it's got to be about 7 or 8 years now. I've had a lot of people reach out and ask me about stuff. Pat, does this look right? And I just say, I'll go look at mine. One of the big things that was being counterfeited for years was this cartridge, because it's easy to recreate. And the thing was, the first set of knockoffs. If you look at the back here, where it says what, 2 players, right? For 1 player, the original is in orange. It's the cover of the box. For some reason, when they were making these knockoffs, it was in white. So I had somebody reach out to me one day. I said, look, if it's in white on the back, it's not real. Then, of course, what happened? They started getting savvy, and they would start to do it in the same color. So it was hard. So I actually have a video where I show people, this is what you look for. So if I take this out, because somebody had reached out not that long ago and asked me about it. Is there any way I
So they
can
knew
tell?
about the orange white thing. They knew
Yep.
it, and they wanted to go to an authority, which you are on, and they
It's
asked you.
hard to tell on here, but if you go on my video, but inside this box, there's a printer's mark.
Yeah, it's hard to tell from there, but I see what.
It's a printer's mark. I have a real good picture of it on the video on my channel. That if you don't see that printer's mark, and it's funny, when I saw one, that was about one of the ones, I think it was the one that sold for about $6,500. Somebody, on eBay, they take pictures. Somebody showed the watermark. I said, so they must have watched my video, because I never saw that anywhere else. Because when I first got it, I started looking. I'm like, well, how can you tell? And you see this printer's mark, and then I reached out to somebody I knew had an original, and they said, yeah, I have that too. I said, well, there you go. That's our way of making sure the box is that it's original. And somebody put that printer's mark on their eBay listing, which is cool, because that's a good way. I'm like, they must have saw the video or something, but it's good though, because then they took the time to be like, hey, look, I'm not going to screw anybody. It's real. But always ask around, because there's always the big thing that happens a lot in Halloween, the world of collecting, is there's a big market for second of masks that people are do on their own, like homemade masks. There's a lot of companies that make their own masks, and they do rehauls. There's a big epidemic that I see a lot of people tell me about is people stealing other people's pictures and content and saying, hey, I have this for sale. They take your money and you don't get anything. So
that sucks.
It happens a lot. So if you're a mask guy and you don't know who that person is, and nobody can vouch for that person, you say, do me a favor, send me a picture with a timestamp of you holding that mask. And then you know what happens? You never hear from that person again.
Yeah, with like something like a newspaper in the background or something that would have today's date, I would think. Okay.
Yep, with your face or something on it. Absolutely. And as far as collecting, look around, do your research, especially if you're on eBay, because 99%, this happens all the time on eBay, because I always get a lot of people asking me, like, Pat, what do you think this is worth? And I always preface say, look, this is just my opinion based on what I've seen, because I don't want to be coming yelling at me. Do your research, and remember one thing when you're on eBay or collecting, not just collecting in general. When you see something online, people could ask whatever they want. It doesn't mean they're going to get it. I use the Tommy Boy analogy. Chris Farley. I say, look, I could take a shit in a box and I could put it on eBay for $10,000. You know what it's worth? Nothing. It's not worth $10,000, but just because I'm asking it, oh, look, I could shit in a box too and put it up there for $10,000.
Market guaranteed. It'd be a guaranteed piece of shit. Yeah, I remember.
So I tell them, do your research, look what things are selling for, not what people are asking. Because people could ask whatever the hell they want. I could put this on eBay tomorrow for $50,000. You know what I'm going to do? I'm not going to get it. But then you'll see 10 other pop up there with $50,000 on them because people think they can get it. Well, so do your research.
Yeah, that's the key, isn't it? It's not always with something is only worth something to someone who's willing to pay for it, and that isn't that how that works? It's not
Exactly.
because you could have something that's 50 years old and something that's 8 years old might be worth a lot more money. So it's not always age. Am I correct by saying? Because I know that's the way comic
Sure.
books
Yeah.
and baseball cards and and any kind of memorabilia, anything that is genuine. People want it just to say, I have. It's not always an investment or whatever, but it's based on availability and what someone is willing to pay for it. I'm certain that it's like that with Halloween stuff as well, right? Okay.
Exactly. So do your research. Ask people. I get messages all the time on Instagram from people hit me up asking me about things, and I'm made a lot of friends. It's one good thing. I've made a lot of friends through this that I stay in touch with, that I've met. A lot of them I met when I went out to the convention. I met them for the first time in person because they live in different states, including my two co-hosts on my podcast. One is in Chicago, and one is in San Antonio.
Oh
So we
wow,
got
I
that.
didn't even realize that they were that. Yeah, those guys are cool. I've seen you on there. I've actually a couple of them had
Yeah,
talked. He actually subscribed to my channel right then and there. I mean, like the coolest dudes that you found. I mean,
yeah, we're
that's
like best
great that you
friends. We
have a
talk like every
common.
day. Yep. It's and well, Joe, the one in
Great.
San Antonio, that was the first time we met in person. My friend Brett, who's in Chicago, he actually flew into Philly and went to Monster Mania, which is in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. Like that was it last year or the year before? So we met
What's
in
Monster
person.
Mania? What's that?
Monster Mania is basically it's a giant convention where they bring in celebrities to do signings and photo ops, and there's tons
Oh,
of
okay.
vendors, and they bring stuff to sell, buy and sell. They have panels where they'll do like a Halloween one panel where whatever actors and actresses are there from the film, they'll do like a question and answer thing.
Like a
And so
Comic-Con thing,
it's
kind of, right?
basically it's like a Comic Con, yeah, for not necessarily just horror because you'll go there and you'll see people that are from different movies. They just get a bunch of stuff together. It's basically, I don't know. Do you remember, especially being from New Jersey? It started years ago and down in the Meadowlands, the Chiller Theater.
No, I
Yeah,
remember I moved to Florida a while ago too, so I was gone for a
okay.
while now. Chiller
Yeah,
Theater. No, I don't recall
that
that.
was one of the earlier first of those type of things where it was like a horror convention. You'd go there and they started to bring in actors and actresses from horror movies. They would have special guests there, and they'd have tons of vendors selling stuff. So I started going to them originally because I would find Kiss collectibles there, because this was about the late 80s, early 90s. So I was still collecting Kiss
Okay.
memorabilia. So I was going specifically for that. And if I
Which is
saw
still
Halloween
big too,
something,
right? Kiss
I'd pick
stuff
up.
is it's still fetching a pretty penny as well, right? Am I wrong? I mean,
That
that's
was the biggest factor, because people see the collection I had, like, "Pat, why did you sell that?" It was financial at the time. I got married, we had bought a house, we started
oh,
a
I get it.
family,
Of
and I
course.
said, you know what, I could. I kind of got disillusioned, because if you Halloween stuff, especially some of the original stuff, is expensive, but it doesn't hold a candle to original Kiss stuff from the
Is
70s.
that true?
It is
Really?
it is just obscenely expensive to buy that stuff. So
Wow.
I just had to make a
I
decision,
didn't
like, you know
think
what,
they would. Mm.
I can't financially do this anymore, because they had, here's an example, they had these pens that are just sealed pens that you would buy probably for $1 in a store.
Right.
If you wanted to get the rarest one was the Peter Criss one, because there wasn't this many. If you wanted to buy that, it's like $500-600. I'm like, I can't afford to spend
For a
six hundred
pen.
dollars on a pen. Yeah,
How much are the cruises? Isn't like the Kiss cruise or something like 4 grand or probably something in that zone,
yeah.
right?
And I've never made one. I have a friend of mine since kindergarten who's a good friend of mine who's a big. We became best friends because we both liked Halloween. We were both Kiss fans, and we went to school from kindergarten and graduated high school. And actually, he was one of the ones that I met up with at the H45 convention, and his name's Pat too. So it was hysterical. There used to be 3 Pats. We were the 3 Ps. All three of us Kiss fans and Halloween fans, all named
There you
Pat.
go.
It was like,
Yeah. Well, everybody doesn't know. I know that secretly Halloween is not your favorite movie. That it's what was that Kiss movie?
oh, Kiss meets the Phantom.
What a piece of crap. What
Kiss
were
meets the
they
Phantom of the
thinking?
Park. Yeah.
Oh my god! I mean, even
Yep.
them on Scooby Doo was better than that shit. That was awful, man.
Yeah.
And he's
It's
our demon. I'm like, really? Even
Not
Ace
their,
Frehley was like, I had to stop drinking just to watch this. I think he said,
it's not their finest
oh,
moment. It's nostalgia cheese for me. I remember it
oh,
being at my
jeez.
cousin's house in Lodi, New Jersey again, watching it
Mhm.
premiere on October. Actually, yesterday, it was October 28th. That
You
it
remember the date? Look at
and
that.
so
Lodi is only like 10, 15 minutes from here, too. That's Passaic County, I believe. Or is that? That's Bergen County. I'm not
I
sure.
know it's on the border. Is it Bergen County or is it Passaic? I don't even remember.
Lodi is it's past Clifton. It might be Passaic County. It's I'm in Essex County, which is
Right.
south of there. But yeah, it's not. Yeah, no, Lodi is not that far. But yeah, they had yeah, those are you know, and it's the memories that are attached to all these things. Like you'll remember, oh, I was with my son when I picked up that piece, or I was with my wife somewhere when I did, or I was with my
Yeah.
buddy over here, and so you kind of it's like throw mama from the train. The coins that he had. Remember the coins that Danny DeVito had,
Yeah.
and they weren't worth anything until he explained to Billy Crystal, I was with my dad when I got this. But like that, I know that's a corny analogy, but you get what I'm saying. It brings back a flood of all these other things, all good, different times, easier times, stuff that was going on in your life, good, bad, or indifferent, attached to something that you love, which is obviously the Halloween franchise. I mean, Michael Myers and everything. We started the show with, and might as well end it with. It's one of those things where it has not skipped a generation. It has consistently upticked to where
Gotten
we are
bigger
right now.
and bigger.
And I'm hearing that they might do another reboot of it. I'm not sure how to feel about that, but then I think, you know what, Greg, don't be so selfish. Maybe there's kids that are just turning 18 or whatever it is. Maybe they want their 1978. I try to look at it that way because I know that no matter what anyone says, and I probably shouldn't say this, but we're all thinking it anyway. People, anyone that's over the age of 30, it's never going to be that good ever again. Let's be honest. You're never going to
No.
have a first of. There's never going to be a first Rocky again, no matter how many creeds you make. There's never going to be another 1978 Halloween when we're introduced to these characters and the whole concept. Very basic concept. Let's get these actors that are working for pennies, and after we say cut, we're going to have to scrape up all the leaves and put them in a bag. I mean, everybody pitched in. That was something where they weren't sure where they were really at, but they all had a common goal. Like, let's just do it. I don't know if that's
Mhm.
still prevalent or not. I just do voice acting. I don't know what it's like to do stage acting and what is behind that. I've heard some horror stories, no pun intended, but I don't know if that was really there. These are young kids, young director. John Carpenter was young. Deborah Hill was young. Yablans was taking a shot. Sure, you can make it for 300K. Go ahead, knock yourself out. And Mustafa will give us the money. And then he fell in love. From what I heard, he fell in love with Michael Myers. If Michael Myers could have been thrown off the Empire State Building, he would have been in the next movie. It wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah.
I read all this stuff.
He carried
It's
it on. He carried the torch
yeah,
because Carpenter didn't want to do it.
he won't kill him off. He wouldn't kill him off. We have to find some kind of way to do this. I kind of feel bad for the old guy with the parrot. Takes care of his ass for a year, then he just whacks him.
Just
What
kills
kind of
him.
shit is that? Gave him nice soup, right? He didn't shower for a year, yet he can move around freely. I mean,
I
nice.
Yeah, that movie. Admittedly, I call it's a guilty pleasure because I watch it and I just laugh at it. So it's like a guilty pleasure. People are like, what do you think of it? Then again, I go back to that word hate. I don't hate any of them. There's more, some I like more than others. That's like
All
a
right,
guilty pleasure because I just laugh.
which one do you hate the most? And a lot of people might say three, but we already touched on that. It's kind of a classic in its
I love
own
three.
way.
I love it.
So
My
three yeah. What's your one? I'll tell you right now. The one that I dislike the most, my Rocky Five, so to speak, which is I can't even talk about that. That's just even Stallone wanted to off himself on that one. Um, I would have to say probably. I want to say Resurrection. I didn't like Halloween Kills that much, but I'm going to go with H2O. Kind of grew on me, except I didn't like it. That the mask was kind of like a sideways afro. I don't know what the hell that was.
There's several masks in it. It's just he kept changing.
Resurrection probably is the one that sucked the most. The only reason I'm not going to say the one in 1995 is because Loomis was in that one. Otherwise, I'd probably go with that one because I just didn't like
You're
the characters.
We're
What
pretty
about
much on
you?
the same page. Resurrection is my least favorite. I
Suck.
And it's funny on our podcast that we're going to be doing live tonight. We're doing our favorite scenes from the Halloween movies. Each one we
Yeah, I'm
we
going to
just
watch this. Yeah,
talk
definitely.
about it. Get more ramped up for Halloween on Tuesday. And I
Hmm.
was writing down, jotting some notes, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, I get to Resurrection, and I'm like,
I'll take a break.
thinking, I'm like, okay, what do I write down here? Because I really don't like anything about this film at all. I really don't.
It was
The
just
only
kind
thing
of
I did like is what they didn't use. They shot an opening sequence that they didn't use. They shot an opening sequence which was supposed to look like old 8mm footage of like him at like one of his family barbecues, and they're having a great time, and they flash to him, like this kid that's supposed to be him, and he's like turning around, not facing anybody, like shooing everybody away, and then he just turns around with this real menacing look, and it gave you the creeps. And I'm like, well, why did they just use that? Because they could have went and got a little bit of a backstory of not necessarily everything, because you don't want to know everything. That was the mystery of it. But
right.
it was a cool little opening instead of this other where this guy is in a mental institution and he's dressed like John Wayne Gacy and he's obsessed with serial killers. Do you remember that guy in the beginning?
Yeah,
Well,
and that was how we knew what his middle name was and his birthday because of that guy. Remember, he was like,
it's
Michael Aubrey Myers and October 19th. And then he gives him the knife at the end.
and
I'm like,
he
what was he
hands
going
him
to
the
do? Hug
knife,
him?
and it's just like, come on, he would have killed you first of all. But then
And
everybody's like, well,
nicely, he handed him the knife like a
yeah,
nice way.
like here, like genuflecting, like he's in church.
What
Yeah,
the
have this.
fuck was
But it's
that?
everybody's like, well, it was more for like giving it to this guy, he can pin it on him rather than them say, oh, it's Michael Myers. No, they pinned it on this guy because he was a
Well, that
nutcase.
kid was crazy, so he didn't have any clue that here he is. And I kind of felt bad in the first of the 2007 one where he killed Danny Trio when he drowned him.
I
I've always
know.
liked Danny Trio,
Everybody loves
and
Danny Trejo. I was like, don't kill him. Come on.
yeah, I mean, this guy is just like, come on, man, and he took care of him. He's going, come on, Mikey. You kind of felt bad for him. He was talking to him for years through the thing, trying to keep his spirits up, and the fact that he could have let him go, he could have just walked away or whatever. Some of those people, though, you want them to die instantly because they're like you feel bad for the girl that was babysitting in was that 2018 one where he's actually in the friggin' closet. Remember the kid goes, oh shit.
Right.
It's, and you kind of feel bad. And then there's a few people that you just want them. They can't die quick enough. They just, here's a couple of things real quick because we're almost out of time. A few things that stick out in my mind. Number one, I've seen the back takes and outtakes and everything of the first Halloween where he puts the knife through Bob and he's holds him up, which is impossible in its opening. Remember, that wasn't a wall. It was a closet door. How the hell are you going to keep someone that's probably 180 pounds
I know.
with
Yeah.
that knife, get through his body, have him stay? Then you did the famous head tilt. Okay, great. I understand that. Absolutely no friggin' way that could. And I remember they were showing the scene where they're holding him up. You can't see him to get Bob up there. There was actually someone holding him up. Same kind of thing with in Halloween 2 with Tawny, what's her name? The girl that played Jill, the nurse.
Yeah. Tony Moyer.
Right.
Yeah, he lifts
She
up a
actually,
scalpel.
this was about 10 years ago. You were able to send her like $20 or something. She would actually send you a signed autograph. I never did it, but it was up on her website. But anyway, the fact that she was still doing it, it's still relevant is cool. But yeah, it was like a harness thing. Didn't they have her in like a harness you had to hold up?
Lift her up. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And I just like the little things like you don't want to know too much about it because it kind of takes away you're thinking about that when you're watching the actual movie. But the fact that some of those things you're just like in 1978, you're like, cool. And now we're like, what are we fucking idiots? Like we didn't figure that out. But what was creepy to me, and you showed, that's why I showed the beginning of that. I have my own personal reason of doing that. For whatever reason, the door creeping open and him with the glasses on with the sheet on, to me was always, he didn't say a goddamn word. That was just creepy. That was the genius of John Carpenter with just the glasses on. To me, it still creeps me out. He's just standing there. And I know that a lot of people kind of miss these things the first time they see the movie or whatever it is. It's one of those things where you can go back and if you see whatever they call it now, Easter eggs. I don't even know these terms anymore.
Yeah, they call them like Easter eggs. Or, yeah.
I'd ask him what catfishing was and what the hell he was talking about. But it's kind of cool that you'll see something like I did with Halloween 2, with seeing him in that back. I mean, it's quick. He's in the back behind Mrs. What's her face, Elrod. Yeah. And then all of a sudden and then he walks the other way. Thank God there was a humongous knife right there for him to grab. But if you remember, what was the other movie where you see Michael Myers walk in? I forgot which one it is. You'll know. Same thing, a killing in the kitchen, but you don't see the kill.
I was
Which one was it? You
2018.
know, it is. Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. He walks in and then
Almost this
he's got
exact
the hammer.
angle and everything of
Yeah,
where
it's
the
off
kitchen would
camera.
be.
Yep.
Mhm. I appreciate stuff like that, as I know that you do, but, there's so much more I wanna be able to ask you and everything. I'm sure people will have questions next time around, but I know you have your own thing tonight, and we're, pretty much
Yeah,
out of
actually,
time, but
the wife's
yeah.
texting me. She just got back from the supermarket. She's like, "Come on, go get the groceries at the car." I'm like, "All right, I'll be
Yeah,
done in a
we're
couple
doing
minutes."
important shit here, say. Just
Yeah, she
leave
knows.
that
She
to the
knows. She's just breaking jobs.
I
I
just
did want to. I did want to show one thing because you're a radio
Yep,
guy, so I did forget I had this. So
okay.
just like I showed before, I showed the
That's why I like the
TV.
fog, because
I
Adrian
showed
Barbeau was a
radio
DJ.
spots and TV spots that I had before. This is a radio spot, so that would be played on radio stations to advertise Halloween. You remember these? Look.
Yeah, the little film, the little skinny film? Is that
Yep.
the skinny ones? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, they go in the reel to reel.
Yeah, so I got one of those as
Sure.
well. And it's funny too, because whoever I got this from a collector who I got a few other things from.
What size
And
is that, Pat? What is was it not 13 mil,
it's
it's the
well,
skinny one. I just can't think
real
of it. It goes
skinny. I honestly don't even know what size it is. It's real skinny. It's got to be. It looks
I
like
know
it's
what
about
it is.
quarter-inch. Is that right?
Yeah, you had to open it, put it like the old style movie, like the reel to reel they used to have in a movie theater before it was regular projector. The little ones, you had to actually change it in the middle of it. That's what those skinny ones were. They were like a promo only, whatever you want to call it. Uh,
This
you
is
have
funny.
that. How did you get that?
Do you see the note from when it was sent to the station? Can you read that?
No, it's kind of a little bit blurry, and plus you're mirrored. Your
Oh, it's
camera's
mirrored.
mirrored, so
So
everything's
basically,
backwards.
it says return after LA premiere. No copies.
Right. Let's tell you not to make a copy because you weren't thinking of doing that. That's pretty cool that you actually have this. So it's all about research. Someone really has to research and ask people who really know, not just the person selling it, if they want to be able to pick up an original. Like, I want the original. Like, because for me, the creepiest mask I think is obviously the first one. The second one is close though. The second one, it really creeped me out when he's under that red light at the hospital and everything. The
That's one
second,
of the best scenes in that film. Yep.
when he jumps up at the girl in the beginning, when he jumps up from behind you're thinking that she's going to close the door and she doesn't even get to the friggin' door. So it took us all by surprise. But yeah, him in the hospital at the end, and this time Loomis is with her and he walks through the glass door. I think that's a really cool part, but it's, there's so many other things I want to be able to ask, but it's those things that stick out in my mind. And being that it's almost Halloween, this is, like I said, this is your time. This is your stomping grounds this time of year. And
This rain's got to stop. I need a nice night. It's raining here, just like it is in Jersey. Come on, stop. Clear up. We need a nice fall night. Actually, what is it? Tuesday. I have to look at the weather for Tuesday.
you're gonna need good stabbing weather. You got to have.
Stay inside, kill somebody. Why not? It's too shitty
That's right.
outside.
So I just wanted to say thank you so much, Pat. I appreciate it. There's a lot of insight.
Thanks for
There's a lot
asking me.
more. I mean, we're going to talk more about. We're going to have you on another time. We're going to talk about some '80s stuff. I mean, we'll do some comedy. So maybe even we'll do a watch along with Caddyshack or something. I mean, or you know what I mean. The one time I would definitely hang out with you guys. You guys are really cool. And you for the people that are listening and watching one or the other, you got to check out Pat's YouTube channel. I hadn't have a chance to go over everything on there, and there it is right there. That Halloween movie collector, that's his YouTube page, and you have your watch alongs. I'm gonna watch this. What was it, 67 mistakes or whatever? What was it called?
Go
again?
watch 67 Mistakes. You'd be surprised at all the stuff that's in there. And like I said, it makes it more charming because it's like makes it that much more
I
personal.
probably know most of them, and some
probably
people
do.
that follow it, but I guarantee there's gonna be a few who are gonna go, oh no shit. Now, by the way, it's gonna bother you. In 4, when she goes up the stairs, this is right before.
I wrote that down. I'm gonna have to do that.
His face has to shoot. He's going to try to shoot him as he comes up the stairs. It's right before that when she goes up and she goes, Lori, watch, you'll see, because it was just on. But anyway, because that's going to annoy me until someone confirms that I'm not nuts. So
I'm
we
gonna
have
play
you
with that
right
tonight
there.
after the podcast. I have to check that out.
And now you have to do a meme machine shout out and just say, look, he was
I
right.
will.
So there you are on YouTube. We'll flash up there. There's your Instagram, that .halloween.movie.collector. A lot of cool stuff on there because I've seen that. already on there. Your Twitter or X, whatever we're calling it nowadays, at Patrick Reng 17. So we got you right there. So those are your top ones right there. And we're going to let people know when this episode drops, because obviously people are going to see, they're going to see the pre-recorded thing on there. And we're going to probably roll this either tomorrow or on Halloween or both. And you'll be able to go to the Meme Machine page and watch it, which is Meme Machine 973 at Meme Machine 973, and also on Pat's, either or. And you can listen to us on Spotify, iHeart Music. That's, of course, 48 hours or less after the show airs, and you'll get audio only. So that's something kind of cool. You'll be able to see the full-length interview between myself and Pat. Once again, Mr. Reng, I appreciate it. Thank you very much,
Very
ladies and
welcome.
gentlemen.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate
The
it. It was a lot of
ultimate
fun.
guy right there for Halloween and this time of year. That Halloween collector. There he is in the flesh, baby. That's a that was a Thunder Lips thing, real quick. I had to throw that in there.
Oh,
Yeah, I don't know why I have to end the show with it like that, but for whatever reason, I keep thinking of Spies Like Us, where he goes, "If you don't tell us what we want to know, I cut off a finger." And he goes, "Mine or yours?"
Mine or yours?
Anyway, you guys can catch up Pat over there. I'm going to catch some of his stuff, and his watch-alongs are pretty cool. So you better check that out next time, and you'll be listening to us. So want to say once again, thanks to Pat for joining us. We'll see you again, Pat, I'm sure.
Thank you.
And for everybody out there, 88.6 WGAT, live from the Great Garden State, New Jersey, a little bit before Halloween 2023. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And once again, if you can't be good, be mean. Take care, everybody. Be well. And good luck trick-or-treating out there. Have your parents check those bags, would you? Send them to Pat. Pat will go through the bag for you.
Yes.
Take care, man. All right, people. Peace. Happy Halloween. Take care. Be safe. Be well.